Okay. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call our regular council meeting to order. It being Monday, July 27th already, 5:30. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance tonight is done by Miss Emily Donnelly. She is our Miss Marigold, and when she is finished with the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to give her a couple of minutes to say a thing or two. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Emily. Now, if you'll stay right there. There we go, just in case you need to be heard. So the City of Pekin, we are very proud of you and everything that you have accomplished in this whole year that you have been Miss Marigold. I am going to present you with the city coin, but then give you an opportunity to say a few words to, how your year has been, what you've accomplished, what your career path, where you're going to go in your career path. So thank you very much for everything. We appreciate you. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Emily.
Hello, I am Emma Donnelly. I am the 2025 Miss Marigold. I am about to hand over the crown to the new winner August 15th. I'm very, very excited. All of the new girls are absolutely fantastic, and I'm very excited to see who wins. This past year has been such an amazing time. I just started college. Very, very scary, 4 hours away from home. Definitely worth it. I go to Southern Illinois University Carbondale. I am majoring in mechanical engineering. I plan to minor in mathematics. For the future, I would really like to go into defense engineering and actually work for the government. That has been a very interesting thing that I have learned about. As Miss Marigold, I'll go into the pageant last year, actually. It was not something I ever honestly expected. It was something that I had just done with my two best friends, Riley and Kylie. We did it as one little last thing before we all went off to college, and I'm so glad that I did because I actually wasn't going to originally. I signed up 1 hour before the application deadline. Shannon Sandoval was a little annoyed at that, but that is A-okay. I am so glad that I signed up because I have gotten to experience so many different things that I probably wouldn't have been able to experience or even accomplish as just normal Emma. I got to host a little science project workshop, if you will. We got to make slime with some little kids and a homemade ice cream. That was a lot of fun. We did little, if you know, like the little marshmallow tower and toothpicks, sticks, we did those types of things, and it was, as the first time I did it, not very many kids showed up, but the second time I had 12 kids, and it was very, very hectic, but it was such a great experience. I got to sing the national anthem at the football game. Wasn't my best singing I've ever done, but I'm very glad I got to experience that. I got to throw a first pitch at the Chiefs game.
Nice.
Wasn't a great throw either.
So did our Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Wasn't a great throw either.
That's okay.
You were
really
there.
don't. You
showed up, you were there.
You really don't realize how far away the plate is. I was like, oh no. I made it somewhat. Yeah, I'll tell you about, I had a dream the night before the pageant that it was me and my best friend, the top two for the pageant, and I woke up the next morning and was like, no, I can't be thinking like that. I can't give myself an ego thinking that I'm gonna win, and I honestly did not think I was going to. When I was up there were 5 of us up there, and I was just like, I'm fine here. I'm good right where I'm at. I don't care who wins. I'm just gonna be happy for them. And I was like, I was almost scared at the thought of winning, but I am so, so, so glad that I did, because I want to be an advocate for girls entering male-dominated fields. I'm going to mechanical engineering, and not very many girls go into that. In fact, at my college that I'm going to, only 8% of the engineering students are female. So I'd like to be that advocate for little girls who want to enter those fields but are a little scared to, because there are so many guys who are just there. And as somebody who took a lot of CTE classes at the high school, I was the only girl in majority of them. Like my senior year, I was the only girl. So I really got to show them who's boss and show them that I am just as capable as they are. And now that I'm being Miss Marigold, I have really been able to do that and show girls that they can be whoever they want to be.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We are so
Absolutely.
very proud of you. And I can't wait to see who you get to pass the reign on to.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
would
you.
love to stay, but I do have another event to go to.
Thank
so
you. We appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always great hearing positive stuff about our city and from people that are so involved and want to start her career and move on. So I love it. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Councilmember Hoheimer. Here. Councilmember Abel.
Here.
Councilmember Hilst.
Here.
Councilmember Nutter.
Here.
And Councilmember Fletcher.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Phillips.
Here.
And Mayor Burris.
Here. Having a quorum, we will conduct business. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Phillips and second by Ms. Hoheimer. Any questions, comments, or concerns of the agenda? Seeing none, council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes, please, from July 13th.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as presented for the regular meeting of July 13th, 2026.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Phillips and second by Mr. Abel. Any questions on the minutes? Seeing none, council, take your vote, please. I noticed you gotta tap this a touch harder.
I abstained because I wasn't here.
Thank you very much. I'm like, wait a minute. Motion passes 6-0 with one abstaining. We have now come down to public input. Anyone wishing to have their voice heard, please come to the podium. I believe the mic still might be on, but make sure that it is. We have 5 minutes, and state your name, please.
Dan Steinbach. I have
Good
two issues
evening.
I wanted to talk about real quick.
Okay?
I found out today from the Illinois State Agriculture Inspection Department, they showed up on my property up to Twisted Spoke. I've been taking care of that alley for 16 years, bringing in all the gravel, spraying the weeds, blah, blah, blah. I've spent thousands of dollars, but I just did it myself. I'm no longer able to do that, I was informed today. You cannot take care of the alley, you can only take care of it up to the point that it borders the alley. If I get caught doing it again, I'm getting fined $500. So somebody needs to do something about taking care of at least that alley, because I can't no longer do it. It's all driven from the house behind it. That's been a problem child for years that the police have been to. The police leave because the guy's just irate, it doesn't make sense, and there's nothing the police can do. I do not know what to do at this point anymore. But it looks like crap again, and I can't take care of it. so I don't know what to do. That's that issue. I gave her a copy of the inspection report from the state inspector.
Okay.
Secondly, I wanted to talk about the unfinished business. Was it 8.2? The vacation of Davis Street. I'm guessing this all started because I wanted to put a fence up. And when I applied for the variance to put the fence up, so to keep the homeless out of my property and just vagrants that are constantly walking through there, that brought up this entire issue. I originally approached the business owner behind me because I was originally going to, I offered to tear the entire fence down and pay for 50% of the materials and do all the work for free. But that didn't work out the way that we wanted it to. Because then I applied for variance to put up a fence, and I was told I can't put up a fence. So not only am I having stuff coming up, messing up off the property, I can't let my dogs out, and I have to look at garbage every day, and I am sick and tired of it. I just redid this house last year, put over $100,000 into it, 125 to be exact, this property. And I can't even sit on my porch and enjoy it because I have to look at garbage all the time. The problem I have is, I'm glad you guys are doing the vacation or vacating it or whatever. That's great. But what I don't want to get stuck with is no matter which way this goes, the vacating of it, is being financially responsible to fix everything that's not up to code. Because it looks bad. I have called the city, I have reported the garbage out there, it's still sitting there all these weeks later. I don't know what to do anymore. You know, I haven't even been staying there for the last 3 weeks because I'm so sick of it. I have some other property out in Goodfield and I've been staying there. I'm just tired of it. That's it. I just hope something gets done, and I hope that whichever direction it goes, the property lines or whatnot, that whoever property it falls on, because there's about 3 different people involved, that we don't get stuck paying for something that should have been fixed years ago. That's it.
Okay. The next person that comes up, make sure the mic is on. They were saying that they can't quite hear, and I'm not sure if the audience is hearing, so, but thank you. Anyone else wishing to have their voice be heard?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just make sure they speak into the microphone. That's part of the
think it's
problem.
on.
It's on, but you got
He
it,
was
this
tall.
mic up here, you have to get close to it to talk into.
And he was taller too. I
And
think
he's,
a little short.
Dan, you're too tall. for that, so.
You need my problem. A little short. Anyone else wishing to have their voice be heard?
Hi,
Hello.
my name's Lynn Binefor. I got 3 things that I'd like to talk to you guys about.
Okay.
The first one is, I would like to thank whoever called my daughter about the garbage that was not picked up on 11th Street, because my truck was there, but it was way far enough back that they could have still got the garbage cans. And I was babysitting my granddaughter. And the next day, the woman called, and she was very apologetic about it and made sure that they did come and get her garbage the next day. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing, I'd like to make a suggestion about Lutikins Lake. Your taxpayers are paying for the money or the property, right?
The lake or the land?
It'll be both.
Okay.
Some of it. If you've ever been to Eureka, they have a lake and they have a beautiful area where you can have a picnic. They've got some teeter-totters and swings and stuff. But all of the citizens of Eureka can put a kayak in or a boat in and go fishing. And it is beautiful. If you've never seen it, you should drive over and see it. Look it up on the internet because it shows you on that too. And that's just a suggestion because everybody's complaining about it, and maybe it would help people in the town chill. Third thing, you have to be certified to be a plumber in this town. You have to be certified to be an electrician in this town. I am not sure if the people that are putting down seal coating or putting down asphalt, not UCM, not Autobahn, not none of those companies, these are side companies, that are coming in and they're doing residential work. And they're not doing a good job. So they're taking people's money, the elderly's money, and it might last a couple years, and then these people are out the money. Asphalt lasts longer than that. I don't know if they pull permits, but if they do, I really hope that the city is inspecting this work, because they are really doing, it happens every single year, July, August, June, sometimes into September. Most of the time, just had a company in this town that was doing that work. And they took everybody's money, they're gone. They don't spend none of it here. So it's something that I really think that the city needs to look into. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to have their voice heard?
Hello,
Hello.
Zoe Carter, as you know.
Zoe, we hear you.
Yes. So I want to start off real quick. I'm going to read a couple of city code statutes, okay, before I get into the meat of why I'm speaking right now. The first one comes from Article 6, Division 2, Subdivision 3, Section 5-6-2-3-2. There's a lot of stuff in there. It is growth prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person owning, leasing, occupying, or controlling any plot of ground in the city to permit the growth of weeds thereon. No person shall permit the growth of weeds in the sidewalk and city right-of-way in front of or surrounding their premises. It shall further be unlawful for any owner, person, association, firm, or organization owning or occupying real property bordering any street, alley, roadway, parkway, or waterway in the city to permit the growth of weeds on any such street, alley, or ways. Now, the second thing I'm going to read here real quick, and I'm getting to it, is in that sentence is talking about weeds and the growth of weeds being prohibited. At the end of Article 6, Division 2, Subdivision 1, Section 5-6-2-1-2, weeds mean all grasses, annuals, plants, and vegetation other than trees or shrubs which exceed a height or length of 8 inches, provided, however, the term weeds does not include cultivated flowers and gardens. All right. So the reason why I read all that is I've had some issues with the city and with code enforcement in the past. I've known several other people who have issues with the city and code enforcement in the past. And a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lady who owns a special, to my heart, house in town. You might know it as the Herget House. She has made it clear to me that her entire property is gorgeous. It's filled with wildflowers. It's filled with it's for monarch butterflies. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous property. The house is gorgeous. It's my favorite. It's my favorite lot in the entire city. I love that property so much, and it's historical to Pekin. However, apparently, code enforcement in the city has been harassing her for several years now to get rid of her wildflowers. They had just sent her, and she even gave me a copy of her code thing somewhere in here, stating that she had to remove all of the weeds in her property. The problem is she had no weeds. It was all garden. I had the same issue at my house. I was starting a wildflower garden because I have a huge vegetable garden. Personally, I'm not a fan of grass. Like that well-manicured lawns, get that out of here. I don't like that. I'd rather have wildflowers because, A, they look pretty. They, help with pollinators with the plants. My property right now is one of the only ones in the entire neighborhood that has fireflies. I love sitting on my property and watching the fireflies at night. But I've been harassed in the past because wildflowers are not grass, and those are considered weeds, which they're not. So I just kind of wanted to come up here and explain that, hey, we have these codes, these statutes in Pekin for gardens. Please actually look at the gardens before you start saying, oh, well, those are all just weeds. They're not. They're not. There is a special law bucket, whatever, in Illinois that has a noxious weeds. And so I'm obviously not saying, you know, hey, if I go out there and plant an entire garden of poison ivy, well, that's not a garden. That's just a menace. It'd be great for keeping people away from my house, that's for sure, but just be more meaningful on that. And this kind of ties into what everyone else has kind of already been stating with the alleys and things like that. Try to go after houses who actually have problems with weeds and that are actually, you know, causing an issue, and not people who have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on their beautiful gardens at their beautiful houses just because someone in the city government doesn't like them. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to have their voice be heard?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Rex Pojoli. I'm here again to request some assistance for my drainage on my property. I've had no movement at all, no communication at all from the city officials or anything regarding any resolution whatsoever. I'm asking again and again for some kind of thought, some kind of movement forward with this problem. This is a city-generated problem. It is well known in state law that you're not allowed to drain your water on someone else's property. The city is draining water on my property. It's causing erosion, it's causing issues. It's been causing issues since I've owned the property for 25 years. I'm still getting no resolution, no movement. I'm getting kind of frustrated because no one seems to care. So I see a lot of things here for grants, for improvements on all these other properties that the city is doing. Grants here and grants everywhere. I see a problem with that. To me, infrastructure is required for improvements and maintenance. It doesn't get better by itself. Grants for improving private property for other people is a different issue. So I don't understand why infrastructure is being ignored on this property and other people's property along this same drainage ditch. It's not something that is impossible to repair. It just needs to be addressed. And I would please implore the city once again to have your staff address this issue because it needs to be addressed. And I'll come here every single meeting and ask this same question over and over again. I see no reason whatsoever for it being ignored. I feel like I'm being stonewalled. So please address this issue. This is a serious issue. Thank you so much.
Mayor, if I may.
Absolutely, Mr. Dossi.
Okay, I apologize, I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I was on vacation, which is mandated that I take at least 5 days consecutive.
That is correct.
That being said, Mr. Pujoli has been spoken to. This goes back into March of this year. I know Justin has had conversations with him as well as April. I received last Friday official memorandum from Giffen Reese Engineering. They have been working on this for some time at my direction, and Justin is here and he can speak on this as well. Long and the short is that we did do site visits during rainfall events, and it doesn't rain every day, but that was part of the issue, is to understand where the draining is. They had staff out there during these rain events. They also did observe some of the easement issues, aerial photography, existing topography, field observation of existing draining patterns. Long and the short of it is the property that is his, which I believe is the apartments on Williamsburg Court, are a significant cause of some of the erosions. And again, I'm not the engineer. I'll let Justin speak a little bit more on that because he wants the answers, and I believe he's had some of these conversations, but we will follow up and send him this as well. The runoff entering the site appears to originate from multiple sources, including adjacent commercial properties, the adjacent multifamily development portions of Williamsburg Court, and the impervious areas of the apartment complex itself, because there's not sufficient detention there from my understanding. And this was not caused by the city on that detention. It's draining off the parking lot from the apartments, and there's nowhere for that water to go other than in that area. It utilizes a privately owned storm sewer system that collects storm water from the parking lot and discharges into the existing drainage ditch on the south edge of the property. Some of the follow-up discussions, and I'm just kind of picking out of the memo that was provided to me, is prior to the April 27th, 26th City Council meeting, Mr. Reese did meet with Mr. Pajoli at the City Hall, explaining that the record review that's been indicated, the city had previously acquired a drainage easement across from the church property that would allow for future installation of a storm sewer to intercept roadway runoff from the northeast corner of Williamsburg Court. Also at that time, he was informed this improvement had not been included in the city's capital improvement program or annual budget. The city was evaluating if this work could be completed utilizing street department forces rather than through a traditional capital improvement project. That project alone, and I'll let Justin talk a little bit more in depth on that, is not going to fix or have the results that he's looking for. The issue that needs to be fixed first is the detention area probably needs to be done. They need to address the drainage or the erosion issue that's caused by them before the cities would be able to put that in. So the city work would not have an impact, from my understanding, on what the issue is that he's wanting the city to fix, which is the erosion issue, and it's not city's property. Mr. Pajoli indicated that his primary concern was the significant erosion occurring within the drainage ditch at or near the outlet of the apartment complex's private storm sewer system. It's not the city's water discharging causing that. Mr. Reese suggested that stabilization of the ditch may need to be addressed independently of the city's proposed storm sewer project rather than waiting for completion of the public improvement. The area of the erosion appears to be located on private property. Any stabilization or repairs within this area would generally be the responsibility of the property owners unless additional easement or ownership information indicates otherwise. Mr. Pajoli also indicated that he did not feel maintaining this ditch was his responsibility, that the city should conduct this work. Mr. Reese did explain it was a natural waterway and that a record search did not indicate any city easements or ownership. Mr. Pajoli has stated that he wanted the city work to be complete so he could pursue other civil remedies for private property runoff. Some potential improvements. And I'm just going to go through this. I'm happy to provide this letter to all of council. I just received it. I was just able to review it today, but I will get a copy of that for you, and we'll make sure that Mr. Pajoli gets it. The new proposed storm sewer would be expected to intercept a portion of the roadway runoff from the west end of Williamsburg Court. Would be expected to reduce public roadway runoff entering into the apartment property and utilize the existing drainage easement previously acquired by the city. What it will not do is eliminate runoff originating from the subject property, eliminate runoff from the larger upstream watershed contributing to the drainage ditch. It will not correct the erosion occurring near the private storm sewer outlet, and it will not increase the capacity of the apartment complex's private storm sewer system. And I would ask Justin to fill in a little bit more of the engineering perspective of that. I'm just giving you just a high level of what was in the memo. But the city's concern is if we go in and we do that work right now and we put a pipe that goes through there and it creates a bigger thing, then we're on the hook for all the other issues. We believe the property owners are responsible for addressing and maintaining that erosion issue, correcting those issues from the water drainage coming off of their property. And then in conjunction with that, the city would look into doing that work where we did obtain that easement, but we have not done any work until this matter gets rectified or resolved. We don't want to have any legal responsibility or finger pointing that we're the cause of the issue. This has been an issue that's been going on from that property. And Justin, if you want to speak in and correct anything that I have not correctly stated here, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you got it, John. I'd say that naturally the drainage does run that way. We did add some impervious area in that road. but it's a relatively small contributing piece of that watershed that enters this property. So taking some of that off does ease a bit of the runoff, but there's still a significant amount of water going through. We didn't evaluate the size of the, the private storm sewer or, any of the discharges or the pipes or the inlets there. Appears, and also we didn't investigate the private property erosion. But we do have an easement in place, and from talking to Public Works Director and the Operations Supervisor, it is something that the city can probably complete that work in-house. It's more of a fall or early winter project, kind of outside of the road maintenance season, when there's a number of road maintenance operations going on that are more weather dependent than just digging in storm sewer. But my recommendation, and this is what I had conveyed to Mr. Pajoli, would be that, addressing the erosion issues first would probably be the most prudent, so that we're not adding additional water upstream on a destabilized bank.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything. Mr. Dossi, anything more?
Yeah, I just want to make it clear. Staff has been working on this,
Yeah.
and when you get the memo, you will see that.
Yeah.
He has been talked to. I apologize if he's expecting me to come out there, but I'm not an engineer. I could come out there and say, yeah, the grass is pretty and there's rocks that are all over the place, but I'm not going to know all the things that the engineer knows and that they do. So that's why they were tasked with coming out and having the conversation with them, and they have been working on this since March and putting this information together.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Anyone else wishing to have their voice be heard?
Yes, I'm Mike Hoheimer. I'm the neighbor to Dan Steinbeck here, who I agree probably got this whole vacating started. I've been there since 2006. I've always taken care of the property that had a fence around it. I never knew who put the fence up where my property lied. I just plowed it, trimmed trees. The problem he was having is he didn't want to look out the front of his house. He didn't like the view, so he decided he wanted to sit on his back porch and look at my lot. That's how this got started. He did come over and approach me about doing the fence, which I stated that it wasn't bothering me. It had been that way for 20 years, and it looks much worse now because through the people pulling on the fence trying to get the trees out of there, it's getting pulled over. I did get cited from Drew Simpson, who I've never met. Never was told what I was supposed to do. Supposed to have met with him, but he never came down. So I cut down the trees as I was told, and then I was told, don't do anything else because we don't even know whose property this is. So I spent some money on my pocket and I just stopped. Now I see this vacating of the property, which actually the corner of my building is in that. And that, I know for a fact that building has been around since the 40s. It used to be Donahue Boilers years ago. Randy Struben over here is my neighbor. His property is, we're tied together. He has a shop there. He actually, in that film, has got about an inch or a foot and a half of property that's his, and then my building is in that. So if they're gonna vacate that, I don't know how it could be done fairly. I have, I run a business, I drive through there. I've always taken care of it, plowed it, I've even plowed his, just because of being a good neighbor. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know what this meeting is where this is going, but maybe you'll be addressing this, but I just don't, I think there's enough property there that could be split with Dan, the person behind him, and Randy and I. Split it down the middle and just say, hey, you guys share it, whatever. Part of the property that on the Davis Street goes right next to his property is an L shape. I don't need that, and it's not mine. I don't know that the property that in question is even mine, but so I'm hoping that you guys consider all that. There is, I believe, a sewer that goes through there. And if you go to removing trees, that could get very expensive. And if it's not my property, I don't really want it to get handed to me and say, okay, tear these trees out. You know, I mean, I'm getting close to the end of my working age, you know, and anyway, that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Randy Struben. I got the property at 930 South Second Street, and I got a letter on the vacating of Davis Street.
Yes.
And like Mr. Holheimer said, you know, it should be, if you're gonna vacate it, each owner should get up to the center of the street, because we actually pay taxes all these years on that property. And I knew when I bought my property, the city owned it. And I never said nothing, ain't none of my business. And then all of a sudden, now it's being brought up. And I think the only fair way is to go to the center of the street on each side to give it to the owner on each side of the street. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I can on this, I believe, and Mr. McQuick can speak to this as well. What's up tonight is just giving us the direction to do the due diligence, which is not vacating the property, but rather doing the surveys and putting all the information in on this. I think they're bringing up the good points about how you would split the properties and things, but I just want to make sure council is aware that what they are discussing and talking about is council giving direction to staff to basically spend the funds to have the due diligence done with engineering and with surveys to determine how the property would be properly divided.
Okay, I think that would maybe satisfies the homeowners around there as well. Yeah. Give everybody a clear picture. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to have their voice be heard?
Adam Rogers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
You may have noticed I've not been here for a couple of months.
Yeah.
What I want to speak about tonight addresses that absence, but it does kind of tie back into the goings on here. We've heard about some real mountains of issues tonight, and what I have to talk about is really the molehill. So I have been absent. First, let's take a walk down memory lane. The last time I was here, we had a presentation from the city engineers about the combined sewer overflow project and how it was entering phase 3. And I brought up the flashing red light at Court and 14th and how dangerous it is. Well, I fell victim to a very similar one on June 15th. There was a flashing red light at Margaret and Broadway. It was only flashing red for maybe an hour, but it was directly related to the combined sewer overflow project. I had stopped, allowed traffic to proceed, and I was proceeding through the intersection, and somebody from out of town who was unfamiliar with the construction and very confused by everything ran that red light and plowed right into my son's door. My son was in the car with me. We are okay. There was just some bruising, but it took me this long to get into a new vehicle. It was a major disruption of my life. I don't want to lay this directly at the feet of the city council because I know you guys don't have direct control over that flashing red light. But you can direct the people that do. I would like the city council to issue a directive to whoever's in charge of the traffic signals. I don't know which board that is yet. To get that signal, the one remaining at Court and 14th, back to proper functioning as quickly as possible. Because if it's happened to me, and I know that the police officer that responded to the accident did mention that there have been quite a few of these types of accidents at these intersections. And so I would like the city to consider the cumulative total of all of the damages of all of those accidents and all of the disruption to all of those people's lives, And all it would take is a little bit of programming for that intersection to get it back to functioning. I know there might be, you might have to do some work with barrels and stuff like that, and getting the lanes in order and stuff like that, but it's doable. And I just don't understand why it's been a flashing red light for months and months and months now. And it is a legitimate danger to the public. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you good? Mr. Dassey, are you good? We're good. Anyone else from public wishing to have their voice be heard? Seeing none, public input is now closed. We have now come down to consent agenda, item 6 on the agenda. Chair would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented, consisting of the following items. 6.1, financial reports through June 30, 2026. 6.2, accounts payable paid proof list through July 17, 2026. 6.3, receive and file FY 2027 budget transfers through July 9th, 2026. 6.4, receive and file City of Pekin, Illinois single audit report for the fiscal year ended April 30th, 2024, prepared by Lauterbach and Amann LLP. 6.5, 2026 annual report of the Pekin Public Library. 6.6, ordinance number 4416-26/27, approving a variance for the property located at 1515 Chestnut Street to reduce the rear building setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. Item number 6.7, ordinance number 4417/2627, approving a special use for Inspired Style Co. for the operation of a beauty shop at 1112 Court Street, case SU 2026-04. Item 6.8, ordinance number 4418-2627, approving a variance to reduce the required number of on-site parking spaces at 1112 Court Street, case V 2026-02, and 6.9, resolution number 455-26/27, approving the Community Development Block Grant CBDG program year 2025 to 2026 consolidated annual performance and evaluation report.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Phillips and second by Ms. Hoheimer. Any questions, comments, concerns of the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a request and pull 6.6 off the consent agenda and move it under new business.
Any other?
You want to make it 9.0 or 9 what?
You know, we had talked about this before. Is there a place that is suited best?
I think under our software, good morning, or good afternoon, everyone, or good evening.
I know, we've done this before.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good
Confused
night.
before.
I think it keeps the same number
It does.
by our software system, so it'll just be 6.6, but it'll be
Put it before 9.1.
last or first.
9.1, put it before 9.1. Perfect? 6.6. I thought that's what it was, is the same number, only I couldn't remember where we would place it. All right? We are moving 6.6 to under new business before 9.1. Okay. Hearing no other for consent agenda, council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. We have now come down to item number 7, which is the attorney's presentation. This is something that I'm very excited for Mr. Viselli to present this to all of us here. So without further ado, I think there's some things that need to be cleaned up. So thank you, Mr. Viselli. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I wanted to say thank you to the mayor and the board, or city council. If you remember, when we were appointed, we said that we would do trainings as part of our engagement at no additional cost. We do it for all the clients who request it, and we do a myriad of topics, whether it's Open Meetings Act, Freedom of Information Act, ethics and professional conduct for board members, city council members, zoning, and on this one, we are doing ethics and professional conduct for all of our clients who have so asked. So this is for internal training and reference, and I want to thank my staff, including my partner Julie, Adrian, who's here tonight, and Gabriella, who is actually online and watching, who helped us put this together. So thank
Hello,
you all.
Gabriella.
Right. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
So we're having this conversation because the public service puts us in a position of trust, that decisions made by the board members are not just legal questions. They are questions of judgment, discretion, and professionalism. And the briefing is a refresher on a few areas where the line between what is legally permitted and what serves the city well is not always obvious. The goal is to protect the city, our employees, and the public's confidence in our work. So our three things are always to protect the city, to respect the employees who do work so hard for the city, and to preserve this public trust. We, as appointed and elected officials, as you all know, and I'm sure you all agree, we work for the people out there. And it's our job to make sure that they know that they're relying on and working with a government that looks out for their best interests. And part of that is ensuring that we have procedures and policies that we follow. So there's two bodies of rules, and there are, there's statutory rules. There's those laws, the statutes, the case laws, and the ordinance about how we act, how we speak, and what the city does, and how we spend money in this behalf of the city. For example, the Open Meetings Act, the Professional Records Review Act, Official Misconduct Statute, and the Public Purpose Doctrine. So I think we're all familiar with a lot of these things, such as the Open Meetings Act, which governs that we have to put, for example, a board meeting agenda on the packet. The Personnel Records Review Act, which means you can't really pry into certain records, and there's certain procedures and processes about the release of documents. Official Misconduct Statute, and that's a general catch-all statute that deals with ensuring that there's consequences to actions that are outside the normal purview of duties, and the Public Purpose Doctrine. And that comes directly from our statute and our Constitution that says that you have to use public funds for public purposes. And there's professional standards, the standards that everyone has to hold and earn to keep the public's trust. The fiduciary duty to the city, decorum and official conduct, respect for staff and colleagues, and stewardship of the public trust. When we talk about decorum, I've seen every example of bad decorum for a village board that you could ever see. I have literally seen a fist fight in a board meeting. Luckily, that's not from the city of Pekin.
Yeah,
It was
thank goodness.
It was on, right, it was, so again, I think that we should be commended for how we act in most instances, and we always go through trainings and become better. But when you've seen one mayor take a swing at a trustee, it kind of changes how you see decorum and how you judge decorum. Closed session information. What is shared in confidence stays in confidence. God bless you.
Bless you.
Make sure that's in the minutes, Madam Clerk, please. So closed sessions under the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act, as we all are familiar, secures the public's right to information. Closed sessions are narrow exceptions. So basically, the default is that things are out in the open. And it's a space where closed session is a space where municipal officers can discuss certain matters that would otherwise be inappropriate or unlawful to air in open session. We have to keep these confidential. We always should follow the OMA's procedures, and other statutes still apply, such as the attorney-client privilege and pending litigation, if there are confidentiality agreements such as non-disclosure agreements with regards to real estate transactions. So just because the analysis may not end just at the Open Meetings Act, there is another layer of the onion, as they say, to look at. So the closed sessions enable lawful candor. And I like to look at closed sessions in the same way that we look at the attorney-client privilege. That if you don't feel that you have something that will keep confidential, that will stay amongst the people who are talking, it creates a situation where people will not necessarily be forthright, and they'll guard with what they say. The best practice is you never release anything from closed session without checking first, since you may not know whether it's protected unless you ask. And these include personnel matters, active negotiations, and pending litigation. And I know that we've had litigation, and I do appreciate that for the most part, these are very, very, very kept tight. And we know that we don't talk about our litigation strategy, and I appreciate that everyone respects that. I've been subject to that where people have not done that, and honestly, it compromises the attorneys and the clients, and more importantly, the people of the village or city that you're working for when you have to negotiate something. So I appreciate the fact that we keep these things discreet, and I would make sure to stress at this point in time, we always do that. The Personnel Records Review Act. So the Personnel Records Review Act is one example how quickly sharing closed session content can move from poor judgment to legal liability. The statute requires that an employer shall review personnel records before releasing information to a third party and delete disciplinary reports, letters of reprimand, or other records of disciplinary action which are more than 4 years old. So if a board member discloses personnel information, the affected employee may file a complaint, pursue a DOL charge, and again, feel free to ask. Ask. We're more than willing to ask the questions and ensure that compliance is met. We'd rather deal with a question that comes in via email or a conversation in the hallway than have to deal with a DOL complaint, because those get timely, they get expensive, and they become embarrassing for a city or a village or a town. What casual disclosures cost the city? So sometimes you think you're saying something, you just kind of say it. And we really need to be guarded on that. So damage from improper disclosure is not abstract. It lands on the people doing the day-to-day work for governance and on the city's ability to function. Negotiations compromised, so once a union or vendor counterparty knows what we're thinking, they're going to use that against us. The staff really, we do talk about that we have to keep things discreet. So for out of respect for myself and the people sitting next to me and behind me and the people behind them in the city offices and my team, it's just please try to always keep these things confidential. Time pulled for observations or from operations. So if we have to deal with a disclosure of information that comes out and disclosure of things that should be kept confident, that discretionary leak becomes something we've got to manage now. So instead of dealing with the substantive of solving a problem, now we have a second problem to solve on top of that first problem. And the public confidence is weakened. The people out here, they're good, they care. They wouldn't be here if they didn't care about how the city operated or they had something to say about the city. And they know that we have to do things sometimes that cause for the need for discretion, such as negotiate litigation or have labor negotiations. And I'm sure they don't want that compromise and us be put in a worse position and compromise the tax dollars that they pay. So I think it's important for both staff and the public that we always keep these things discreet. How to handle closed session information. Again, always default to confidence. A fish with its mouth closed never got hooked. If you don't say anything, you really can't get in trouble for doing that. We follow the OMA's release procedures, that when we do have things, and there are standards, is our clerk, who's one of the best clerks in the state of Illinois. She knows, and we know, how these documents actually come out, or these minutes actually come out. When in first, ask. So one of the themes you're going to hear tonight is, when in doubt, ask. When in doubt, just seek guidance. And remember the audience. The casual conversation with colleagues or family or constituents, while important, can compromise those positions that we're trying to take through the city.
It's true.
The use of public funds, that these are public dollars. So Illinois courts evaluates the municipal expenditures against a single question: does the spending serve a public purpose? Whether the attempted private use of municipal property subserves the public interest and benefits a private individual or corporation only incidentally. So put plainly, public dollars may produce incidental benefits to private individuals. That's fine, But when spending primarily benefits a private party, that's illegal and it's improper. One time I had to dissuade a village from paying for someone's criminal defense fund. I said that was necessarily illegal. You can't do that. I don't think this board would ever, or the city council. If I use the word board, I mean council. If I use the word council, I mean board. I don't think this body would ever do that, but things happen. And we need to be vigilant about how we don't let those things happen. What I like to say is scope creep. We want to make sure that we use public money for public purposes. Official misconduct. So if you use public funds in a improper manner, you could be subject to the official misconduct statute, and that's the improper use of public funds enforced through the official misconduct statute. Two features make this statute worth understanding. That's the violation of identifiable standard. You have to have some sort of rule. You can't violate something if you don't know what it is. That's a tenet of the laws since 250 years ago, more or less, or a no de minimis exception. That even if there's a minor amount of funds, it's a small amount, it's not a defense. Think of it as a binary thing. Think of it as a threshold thing. You either do it or you don't. Whether it's $1 or $1 million, it doesn't matter right or wrong. The IML conference reimbursements. So the reimbursements of the city officials and employees for food, drink, and lodging at the Illinois Municipal League is appropriate. Staying current on municipal practices is a benefit to the city. So what we need to look at, and I like this example because it's coming up, because hopefully we'll see everybody at IML the week of September the 16th through the 19th in the city of Chicago. And it's generally appropriate. Conference registrations, that's fine. Lodging, that's fine. Reasonable meals, that's fine. Standard travel, that's fine. But if you end up staying 3 weeks later and rent a Bentley to drive up and down Michigan Avenue and have nothing to do with the city, that's going to be a problem. And it's going to be something that I may get a phone call about from the authorities. I'll just be very blunt. Professional standards. So this is an interesting video. That I'm gonna, if I can pull this off, I'm better at technology than I thought I was, so I'm gonna try this. And I think I turned us off. How do I do this? Oh, thanks. Magic.
But where's the volume?
Yeah, can we get the audio? Okay. And I would ask whoever is, special effectsing this, if they could start it over from the beginning when we do get the audio through. But you can see this, it's closed caption on there.
So go to the, as you had the bar on the bottom of the bar on the bottom of the picture. Right now, to the right.
The far right?
Is there, yeah, do that. It's up all the way. Oh. But is there an X on the, no?
No, essentially this, if you watch the video, it's only 50 seconds, and I'm sure we've all seen closed caption. But when we talk about this, it deals with how a board interacts with the community and its employees, and watching and ensuring that for property tax relief and economic growth and intergovernmental relations, that we want and need to always have a good reputation. And we want and we need the ability to have discretion to go forward and follow those moments to stay on top of what we're trying to accomplish. And I will circulate this video to everybody up here, obviously individually, and so as not to violate the Open Meetings Act. And the challenge comes about with ensuring that we work with our vendors, with our constituents, and with our employees, and disagree without being disagreeable, to allow people to have free speech when they come up here.
Yeah, it talks about the employees, not letting them be a target. Didn't I just read that real quickly?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the idea is that we need to show the confidence that we all have, because everybody in here is working very hard for the advancement of the city. And we don't want to erode that confidence from third parties when they come in here because of personal attacks or anything like that, which happens at board meetings. I've seen that happen at a very high level and scale in different municipalities, and you really want to avoid it. And I did it again. Okay, 3 duties of public office. So statutory duties tell us what we must do, that we have a fiduciary duty to the city, that we have to put the city first when we sit in these seats, including appointed and or elected seats, that information, time, and resources entrusted to the office are not ours. We are custodians of them as imbued by the people of the city. Decorum in public office. So we try to always uphold the city, and I do believe that everyone in this building and obviously on the city council believes that they are working in the best interest of the city of Pekin. And I do think that it's important that we show that and we show confidence in the city to going forward. Not that there aren't things that we can do better. There always will be, but we always want to show respect, avoid public criticism of employees and whatnot. And the stewardship of the public trust. It all goes back to the public trust. That every statement and thing that we do is a reflection, both as appointed and elected officials, to ensure that the city looks in its best interest. This allows for additional people to come here. It makes people want to be residents of the city of Pekin, and it makes businesses want to do business with us. What do the principles require day to day? So what we expect, or what is expected under Illinois law, is that we hold confidences, that we treat everyone with respect, that the city uses the resources well, and we ask before acting uncertainty. And that's the 4th one, is more of a request. That my one request is, when we come out of this, if you do have a question about something, feel free to ask. And if you got to funnel that through the city manager, that's fine. That's where these things should be funneled through. If you want to grab me directly, I think the city manager would be okay with it. But if you're not sure, ask. Because you could solve a small problem and not make it be a big problem by asking rather than acting. The 5 questions worth asking. And this is just something that we always put in these presentations, and just because a moment of reflection can cause a lot of problems. Or cause a lot of problems. I messed that up. Can eliminate a lot of problems. Is this within our lawful authority? Does the public interest meaningfully benefit? Would I be comfortable explaining decision in tomorrow's paper? Not that we're worried about what the paper says, but honestly, it's kind of a moral compass. If I had to tell everyone about this, is it the right thing to do? Am I respecting the time, dignity, and confidence of the city employees? And have I consulted counsel when the answer is uncertain? When in doubt, ask. The city attorney's office is here to help you serve effectively and without exposure. It's our job to protect you. A short conversation before a decision is always less costly than addressing consequences after. And essentially, it's very simple. If you just ask, we can maybe avoid a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. And that's it. So thank you all very much for the time. I really do think very fondly of the city, as my staff does as well. My partners and staff really enjoy representing the city, and we just want to make this as good of a place to work as we like it to, as a client and people with whom we work. So thank you. I appreciate the time.
Mr. Vasselli, thank you very much, and your staff. Adrian, is it Adrian? Yeah. Adrian, Gabrielle, isn't it Gabrielle? Gabby? Julie. Yeah, and Julie, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. This is stuff that we all should live by. But I think the bottom line is respect. Respect for one another, respect for our citizens, respect for our staff. So I think that's the bottom line. And this city will succeed, and we are succeeding, and we are growing, and we are moving the city forward. So thank you very much for that presentation. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. We have now come down to item 8, which is unfinished business. Chair would entertain a motion for 8.1, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that 8.1, resolution number 448-26/27, approving an intergovernmental agreement for transit services with Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, also known as CityLink, be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Hoheimer and second by Mr. Abel. So, Mr. Dossi, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe this was pushed over from the last council meeting. I think there were some questions that council wanted some clarification on, and I do know I believe there's some representatives here from
There is.
CityLink, so I'd ask them to step up, make sure the microphone's on, and we'd be happy
To the podium.
to entertain any further questions council has of CityLink or of staff.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to council. Well, first of all, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My
Good.
name is Kofi Kise. I'm the general manager for CityLink.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yes, and I'm here with the director of operations, Ken Bodie.
Hi, all right, welcome. Council, does council have any kind of questions, comments, concerns? Who would like to start?
I'll start.
I was going to say, I have a couple, but go for it.
So one of the questions that I've had from day one with mass transit, how is ridership determined? Because over the 6 years I've been up here, it's 100,000 approximately. So how is that number determined? Number of,
Riders.
well, no, that's what I want to know. Is it riders or is it number of trips? I, as an individual, go to 4 places. Does that count as 4? How is that determined?
Ridership is determined by the trip. One trip determines so we have an APC counter on the buses, and that comes up with the count. But you could board from one location to another location, get off, maybe after a while get onto the same bus again. That counts as 2 because you're getting on at a different time. Some of the questions that have come up, there are some who look at cost to be based on ridership, which is never the case because whether it's one person riding or 50 people riding, it's the same amount of fuel that runs that bus and all those things. So, but we have counters when it comes to ridership, yeah. And I come today with a memo that I would give to you that gives a breakdown of the current cost and what we spend to maintain this operation here. So I would give that to you, yeah.
Excellent. So you're going to have the variable and the operating costs in there?
Everything, yes.
Excellent. Thank you for the explanation on the ridership, because I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of people, but it's on, off, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions from you, Dave? Okay.
Just a brief overview. Can you explain how the complimentary ADA paratransit services work?
Again, I'm Ken Bodie. How that works is that we actually take the paratransit complimentary service within 3/4 of a mile within each of our routes here. So that works by sending a vehicle over to cover each of those, and then it's taken over by, right now is WeDriveU, which is contracted out by us.
So for the people who qualify, the extra vehicle would just show up at their residence as
Yes,
long as
well-
they're within that 3/4 mile?
No, what you'll do is you'll actually arrange for your rides with them. Okay, so you'll call in, make the arrangements, they fit you into the schedule, and make sure they're either there 15 minutes early or 15 minutes after, that's their window, so.
Okay, thank you.
Karen, did you have a question?
No.
John Fletcher? Jake, I'm so sorry.
I got a couple.
Rick?
So it talks in here about variable costs associated with each mile within the city and then the variable costs associated with the connector miles from Pekin to Peoria, which are then discounted by 50%. So my question is, what is the cost of a connector mile within the city when you're just running the city routes? And what's the cost of a connector mile from Pekin to Peoria?
Let me take a look at what I just gave to you. So from this, the total cost for the connector mile comes down to 588,756. And it's also broken down, not the connector, but what we have in here. So the connector is 23 that goes back and forth. Then we have 17 and 18 that is stationed here. How we charge for the connector mile is based on what we have in the contract. So it's clearly stated in the contract when it comes to charging for the connector mile. But what we've given here now, we're giving the number of miles for the connector mile, number of hours, the billing rate at 50%, and that comes to the amount I just put out there. Yeah.
So you're not charging us a specific amount per connector mile. You're getting that cost after doing all the other math.
Correct.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So it talks about the bus stops.
Yes.
And it says, basically the location of those are subject to the approval of the council, correct?
That's what it says in the contract, but
Yes.
So what we have here is referred to as a flag stop, which is flag stop, which is not the most efficient and safest way to operate transit services, because flag stop means you can be waved down at any point and you have to pull over. It calls for the driver to use extreme caution and make sure that safety precautions are in place, because so what we're looking at now is after the road construction is completed here, we would want to go the way of having designated stops. It helps with on-time performance. It helps when it comes to avoiding accidents. And there are agencies out there that would come in, put these shelters and benches in place, put on advertisements, and what comes out of this is, let's say, 60% to the city, 40%. Yeah, so this is something that I would want to discuss later on when everything is done. East Peoria does something similar. It's a means of generating revenue. So moving away from flag stops to designated stops, having a company come in, put in all these shelters and benches on, they put it in to reflect what the ADA, all those things, all those regulations, and it's the city that ends up having this deal with them, whether 70-30, 60-40, but it's all about the advertisements that they put at these locations, and the city would have a say in what they would want out there or what they don't want out there. So this is something that could be discussed after the current construction is completed.
Okay, well, I appreciate all that information, but I'm just asking these questions based off of the language on what we're approving.
Okay.
And it states in there that all the material, basically, to construct a bus stop would be provided by Greater Mass Peoria Transit, and then the city would be responsible for installing and maintaining that bus stop.
Correct. And
Is that a fair
correct.
statement to you?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, And I know you're talking about all these other stops where people are just flagging people down at any given spot in town, which is
They do.
nuts to me, but anyway, if you've got a regular bus stop already established, and it has a sign that says it's a bus stop,
Yep.
but it doesn't have a bus shelter there, we as a council can vote to put a bus shelter there, and then you guys will provide that material, and then the city will install it and maintain it?
I would have to get back to the verbiage, whatever the contract says specifically when it comes to that. Yeah, so it's not every bus stop that we have shelters for. So
What determines that? If I could just interrupt you. What determines whether you do put a bus shelter there or not?
Ideally, it will be helpful if we had bus shelters everywhere because inclement weather
Right.
and all those things. So ideally, it's something that you would want to do. But at this point, it's something that we don't fully cover. Like we don't have bus shelters at all stops. So it's something, and especially when it comes to certain locations, depending on the those you're dealing with at a particular location. I mean, if you have a lot of ADA related, depending, maybe we have a bus stop in front of a facility where mobility devices and all those things are used a lot because of what that facility deals in. It's advisable to have a shelter there. It's advisable to be ADA compliant, make sure that those who are getting on and off the bus do that in a safe way. And in the event of inclement weather, they have a safe place to be. So,
Right,
yeah.
right, and I agree with that. So I was just trying to understand when I read through that, because it doesn't specifically say who makes the determination per se, it just says it would have to be approved. Well, it says by the city, I'm assuming that means the council. But since Greater Peoria Mass Transit would be responsible for providing all the material for those, so does that come as a suggestion from you to us to vote on that? Or does that come from us saying, hey, we'd like to put a bus stop out here and we just notify you that we're gonna do that?
It would mostly come from us, but any suggestion from you would be reviewed. We'll take a look at it because there are certain parameters, different things that need to be taken into consideration to put those things there. So those are things that we'll give the expert advice on. It will work here, it wouldn't work there. So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate those answers. I do have one other thing I want to bring up, but this one, I'm going to get off of you for a little bit. And now I'm going to pick on the city.
Okay.
So we're the ones that are supposed to maintain those bus stops and shelters. So who does that?
I do have to say, Rick, I had asked that question before, and I believe the young lady that worked for the bus department said that they did it. So
Yeah,
I think there's a
that's
little
what we
bit.
were told, and that they had the parts for the bus shelters and things.
Yeah, so
And it had to do with the federal grant and everything else. So I don't know if that was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
But the contract says that we
Yes.
maintain them.
I don't know, we did ask.
We've got one over here next to the UAW high-rise that was brought to everybody's attention a year ago, that every one of the panels are pretty much shattered out of it, and it's still sitting there that way. So I'm trying to figure out who's responsible for maintaining those shelters and why they're not being maintained.
Yeah,
Well-
I'm sorry.
Nope, I'm sorry. All right.
And I'm definitely not pointing the finger at you saying that's your responsibility, because it looks like it's the city's responsibility.
We
according
did
to our
ask that
contract.
young lady, I forget her name, but we did ask her that.
I mean, I know she went to another town.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, that's what we were told, and I know at least one shelter you guys did come out and repair because you had the parts, and it had something to do with the grants that put these up back in the day. So, and it was the same time they came out, and the one time, and I'll bring it up since nobody brought it up, cleaned up Court Street
Well, John, I was gonna bring that up after everybody talked.
yeah.
We had asked them a year ago to clean up the oil.
And that
That's what I was
oil
gonna bring
is
up.
an issue. I get every one of these council members at some point or another, multiple times during the year, will ask me about it.
Yeah.
So we would ask that you guys check that more frequently, because it is getting bad right by the courthouse.
I was gonna bring that up, and then I was also going to say, if there's no further question, I wanna say a couple of things, but
I was just gonna hit on what John said about that.
The oil?
On that oil that's all
Yes.
over the road. Do you guys have that issue in any
So,
other municipalities? And if you
after-
do, how do you address that?
After the last meeting, I listened to it, and I think that was one of the major things that came up. I came down the following day, and I have given this directive, so I have the utilities, facilities team coming down every 2 weeks to clean that up. And so every 2 weeks, my team is coming down to clean it, and taking into consideration that you're not cleaning this to go into drains and other things. So taking the necessary precautions to lift whatever is being cleaned. So the cleaning started right after your last meeting where this came up. So we're doing that now. And what we have in there is as a result of some of the old fleet we have. Some of our buses are quite old, so running all the time, that is what happens. But for now, what we could do is just do the cleaning like we're doing. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I'm pretty certain there's not a council member up here that has not had that question asked to us. Because we are trying to clean up our city and keep it beautiful, and that would help tremendously. If nobody else has a question, I have, and so does.
The only, one thing I see here, if I'm reading this right,
Yeah.
the cost for you guys
Yep.
to take care of Pekin essentially is $744,000.
Yes.
And we're gonna pay $210,000. It's kind of a, I don't know what kind of business model that would be, but, so the $500,000 that's being absorbed by CityLink through other funding sources, how do you absorb a $500,000?
So the request for this breakdown was made, I would say, almost a year ago. I've been in this position maybe almost a little over 2 years. I recently got to this and put all this together. We provide services to the city of East Peoria and other places. This is something that we have not brought to your attention because it had not been looked into. Back to what you just said, the 500,000 or $500,000, that comes on top of the 210 is borne by, we're looking at Peoria, Peoria Heights, and West Peoria.
So you separate the cost of everything and then,
No, they are taking it. I mean, if all Pekin is paying is 210, one way or another, services are still going on.
Right.
So this is something that after it came up, I looked into avenues that we could look into to address this. So I reached out to Tri-County. I'm also reaching out to the state, looking at different things that could be done here in Pekin to help shore up that amount.
well, the 210, it seems like a bargain is what I'm getting at. I don't know how, is it grants that take care of a $500,000, or you spread this cost between other cities that are?
It's grants, it's the dope, the local money we get from the state. So different things go into that one. Now, if we had gone into this contract, let's say a year or two ago, I think we should have come to the table to discuss this, that look, this is what it costs to provide this service. So it's nothing we brought to your attention. Yes, it's nothing we brought to your attention until now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
Yes.
Because Karen did too, right?
So-
Oh, no,
oh,
no,
yeah.
she did not.
One of the big questions I get all the time is why do we have to have such large buses going up and down the roads? I hate to use this term, but do you have short buses?
No. So
That's
this,
pretty straightforward.
this question came up in an email, I think from Josh Ray. He brought that to my attention. And most of the short buses we have are for the paratransit services. So when this came up, I know the impact of large buses on roads, especially with all the resources you put in to fix your roads here. So my response was, we'll look into grants, because it's not just for Pekin, but even in Peoria, there are certain routes that shorter buses will do well on than long buses. I mean, so it's something that I'm looking into it, see what grants we can get to, so that's well understood,
Last question?
Yes, sir.
So we got a connector route that stops in Creve Coeur, North Pekin, Marquette Heights.
Yes.
Do those municipalities pay any money at all to the mass transit district? Or is Pekin picking up the total expense from Pekin to Peoria, everything in between?
No.
Real quick on that, Creve Coeur, Market Heights, North Pekin, they don't pay, but we're actually subsidizing the rest of that money for that route. We will be speaking with them as far as payment goes. Okay.
Did you say the city is subsidizing them? Is that what I heard?
We are. No,
Oh, you
Peoria-
guys
yeah,
are.
Peoria is, right.
If they stayed, wouldn't that help eat into the 500,000?
It wouldn't go that far, but it's something worth looking into.
Okay.
I just struggle to see these buses drive by and there's 4 people on a 100 and, or 75 to 100 person bus.
Yeah.
And that's just a tremendous amount of fuel, weight, it's a waste.
Yep, and that is why I have it in on the short-term, long-term suggestions that we would make an assessment of our current services to see if there are any adjustments that need to be made. But when it comes to transit, there are certain routes that, depending on the time of day, you only have 2 people on a bus that could take 60. So, I mean, a good way would be having smaller buses, because that would be good on fuel and all those things. So these are things that we're going to look into.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I address something real quick with that?
Go right ahead.
In regard to why we use a long bus versus the shorter buses, if we go to our shorter buses, which are really cut-off vans, so you're talking what, maybe from the best one we got, it carries 23 people. However, it's regular gas, okay? For us to maintain a schedule here in Pekin, we need the long bus over here because they can run all day. The short buses, I'm gonna have to send 4 or 5 over, because there'll be one back to fill back up and then one back over to replace it, so in order to keep your schedule going, it's easier to put, like, our shortest bus is 35-footer, okay? But you can fill that puppy up and it'll run for 2 days, okay? And that's why it's done that way, so that way it's not a bunch of going back and forth for refuel and stuff like this, so, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw something out there, and I'm going to ask Mr. Pacelli if this can be done. What about, I don't know that all the questions were answered. I know that Mr. Netter asked for some figures. You didn't quite get your first one. It was on there? Oh, okay. We want to see that the oil is being cleaned up. Can we put this out there for a 60 or a 90-day? And what does the council think of such thing? Instead of a whole year?
I think that is a great idea, because I like the gentleman's comment. We need to sit down and talk about
I
a
do too.
multitude of things. Where are the bus stops? Can we get parts from you guys to repair the bus stops? What can we do? Can we improve your fuel efficiency? I'll throw one out there. You want to buy fuel from the city of Pekin?
If it's cheaper.
And
than
we
what
have
you
an
pay now.
electric bus if you're interested. So I think it's a good idea to possibly just do a 60, 90 days, see where we're at.
Kind of what I thought.
And have a
it's-
conversation with, and maybe it's not just Pekin, maybe it's East Peoria and everything. What can we do as Tazewell County, I'll put it that way.
So, Mr. Vasselli, will you give us guidance?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent idea. Thank you, Councilmember, for your comments. An excellent idea, Madam Mayor. If you're looking for it, we need one of the council members to make a motion for whatever, either 60 or 90 day, or what's the board meeting date after the 60 or 90 day? Is really, what we want to do is we want to,
Madam Clerk, can you look up that date?
So can I just do clarification? We make quarterly payments on this, correct?
Correct, supposed to.
So it would probably be more appropriate to do a 90-day, because you're just making the first quarterly payment.
Okay.
And then you can revisit it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, because I'll be reporting to our board as well, because we have 3 from Peoria, 1 from Peoria Heights, 1 from West Peoria.
Okay.
And when this came up, what I'm sharing with you now is something that they also realized that, okay, we're paying a little bit too more, that whole thing. But it comes down to what can we do to help address this matter. So I'll be reporting to the board as well, yes.
All right, so what about a quarterly, so 3 months? 90 days, excuse me.
our clerk informed me October 26th is a date that would be a 90-day date right around our, the
And
procedure.
26, I thought our meeting was at October, is it the 26th? Okay,
It should be the 26th.
10, 26, 26? Okay.
So what exactly is it we're doing here? What are we changing?
The proposition, Councilmember Hilst, is to continue this matter for further investigation. I won't get into the details because I don't want us to limit ourselves, but to continue this for further investigation to the October 26, 2026 meeting. And like I said,
So meaning we're gonna still continue to have this operation
Correct.
without a contract?
we pay the first quarter, we
90
operate
days.
under the old contract.
Okay. Because there's language in here
It's
that
still-
says we can terminate this within 60-day written notice at any time.
Yeah. So
I
we
know,
just-
yeah, we can there's termination provision in there.
We just need a lot of polishing up, I mean,
Right.
to say the least.
And again, I don't want to list all the, what we call in the law, a bill of particulars. I don't want every single item, because there may be something, one question, some of the best questions lead to another question. And I don't want to limit us, so we would ask, and I think staff, is that fair to say? Staff would ask for 90 days to be able to do some due diligence with regards to this, operating under the terms of the prior contract as agreed to in open session by the executive director.
And pay the first quarter.
And we'll pay the first quarter. And it's not a debatable motion, so we would have to move and second that.
Yeah, so I need, if everybody agrees, we need a motion and a second.
Well, I'll make the motion that we,
You got another idea, Mark?
Well, the one, a very wise bird whispered in my ear and said, we could approve it and allow for termination going other ways, which would, the end game would have the same, you'd have the same end game, essentially, you could get out of
Okay.
it. But then you'd be approving the contract and going forward, or we go back to the extension with the understanding that a payment's done.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
we can do that, and in hopes that they would come back with some of these answers for us.
Yeah, but then we need a either one needs a motion. Either we need a motion to continue with the understanding that we'll make the payment and it'll operate status quo, or we approve the contract and then come back and possibly terminate.
so basically you want an extension on the current contract?
I don't,
Extend it until October
26?
26th, or?
Terminated.
so if we're gonna go that avenue, we're gonna call it a motion to table this matter until October the 26th, 2026, extending the current contract for the first quarter of operations. That would be it. That would cover both aspects of it. We still have a 60-day termination clause. I do say that. I mean, I am not foreshadowing anything, sir, but if we wanted to, we send him a letter in 2 months we're done. I mean, that's just the facts, and he knows that. I mean, they
No,
wrote the
I'm aware.
contract. Yeah.
I'm aware of that, and it could also, from our end,
Yeah.
come in where this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is what, yeah, so that is fine.
100%.
So what's the date the current contract expired? Is it already expired?
Yeah. June 30.
June
So
30th?
we're on a holdover provision as we speak.
So it shouldn't be 90 days, it should be 60, because we've already let 30 pass.
Well, I mean, short of 30, but yeah, about, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, but we were negotiating that. It did come back beforehand. There were some issues with regards to that, some of which due diligence has been done on.
Okay.
The fine gentleman did tell us, and I'm sure he is forthright, that they are sending out crews every 2 weeks. And I also
Yeah.
know that at least 3 of you have talked to about the oil that's
Yeah.
coming out from there.
Yeah.
So it's a real issue, right? So I think progress is being made, diligence is being done.
Yeah.
But I think that there are some still question marks that have not been answered at this point.
There's question marks. I'm still saying 10, 26, 26.
So that puts us past a quarterly thing according to the expired contract.
If it's okay, Mr.
Just go ahead-
Manager.
you go
what
ahead
about-
and
no,
give us a
My
suggestion.
question is, yeah, no, tell me what finance thinks. I want to see how finance has to do with the budgetary issue, because that's really what we're talking about, right? Because we want to know when the payment comes through, you know, when's the next quarterly payment?
We're gonna send.
Well, I
them
was just
payment.
gonna add, Mary, if you do the end of October, that'll be the first month into your second quarter, and then we'll give a 60-day notice, which will round out the second quarter. So if in October you decide to cancel, we'll end up paying 2 quarterly payments in total, because our service will run another 60 days after you vote.
True.
And I think quarterly payments roughly 52.5, yeah.
Okay, so on the table, we need a motion to change to what Mr. Vasselli said, and a second.
What was the meeting, October
26th.
10, 26, 26.
Yeah. But I think, a decision by consensus is never a good decision, right? But I think we're looking at 10/26/26 would be our recommendation from this body, from the people at the tables over here.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, we're going to table extending the contract.
I make a motion that we table the contract until 10/26/26. Within that time, make the quarterly payment that's due.
Correct.
Second.
You're good with that?
I'll get to our legal counsel on this, but at this point, yes.
Good, so he said yes. You can't trust lawyers, sir. Let me tell you that right to start this off.
I'll get back to our attorney to
Don't trust
discuss
lawyers.
this,
Get
but
that
at
on
this
record.
point, we're already operating without a contract, so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your patience, counsel. That is not a debatable motion, so Madam Mayor, if we'll put it to a vote, that's all we can do at this point in time.
All right, so we are, a motion was made by Mr. Nutter, second by Ms. Hoheimer, to table it till 10/26/26. The existing contract, we will pay the quarterly payment. And that's it. So, without further question, council, take your vote. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you very much for your patience and enduring these questions and everything. I think we're on a good path to get some good resolution for the citizens and everybody.
Yes, thank you very much
I
for
agree.
coming as well.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, thank you. I think Mr. Vasselli's going to go talk to them. Okay. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.2, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 451-26/27 directing city staff to initiate the process for the vacation of a portion of public right-of-way located in the vicinity of Davis Street and Malvina Street be approved.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Nutter and second by Mr. Abel. Mr. Dossi.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, council, this was carried over from the last meeting, from my understanding. Some of the public input questioned, how the property would be divided, and that's exactly what this agenda item is about, is to do that due diligence to determine exactly how we would divide up that property if the council decided to vacate that public right-of-way. This would approve, it would not authorize or make any of the transfers right now. Basically, it's going to allow staff to complete the due diligence, which is required surveying, legal descriptions, engineering reviews, preparation of all the supporting documentation. It's anticipated is not to exceed $12,500, and they'll be completed through task orders through our engineering firm, Giffen Reese Engineering and Millennia Professional Services. It was tabled at the July 13th regular city council meeting, and I will let Nick chime in with any other information he has, but again, it is not vacating the property tonight. It's just council giving authorization to staff to put in the due diligence to make that determination. That would have to be another council matter to come forward, and if I'm wrong, Nick, go ahead and
you're right.
call it out.
More than happy to answer any questions.
The only question I had, and it's been brought up from some people involved in this, between Nick, you, and Justin, how much time you think we're looking to complete the survey, do this base work? Just the base work, not the technical stuff after it.
This is a complicated one because there's railroad right-of-way and there's IDOT right-of-way that bounds both sides of it. So it's gonna come down to the courthouse research and accessing those state and railroad records. As everyone up here is painfully aware, the railroad can sometimes be difficult to get information from. And I don't exactly know how many subdivisions this will ultimately have to split in order to, resolve the boundary calculations. So I don't know for sure, but it's probably several months worth of waiting, not active work, but reaching out and then waiting for answers back.
Yeah, this is actually about the third thing we've tried working with the railroad, and they do take their time, so it's a little time consuming. Yes, Mr. Fletcher.
So, Nick, I assume that you have everybody that's shown up here that has an issue. Do we have contact information from everyone that you could at least keep them aware of what's going on? I don't know how I'm gonna cut this and you're gonna cut that. I think that needs to be resolved at some way. Maybe somebody go out and talk to them, meet with whoever, so that they're not arguing back and forth, and everybody understands that it's in the process, and then there'll be a determination of who gets what. But I don't think, in terms of violations or that type of thing, maybe we need to look at that of no violations or whatever, unless you go out and meet with them and say, this is what just the minimum that needs to be done, and try to figure out who can do what. I don't know how else to say it, but it looked like to me there was a couple of issues between neighbors.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of where we're at. So there are some active citations, but we've been extending them out until we find some type of resolution. But currently, with the situation, we're not out writing any citations regarding these properties.
Okay. So I mean, just so they understand that, if one person doesn't cut anything because they don't know whose it is, or, maybe, I don't know, keep them posted in 30 days or 60 days or something. I don't know. Sure. Whatever you guys think.
Yep, and I do have everybody that spoke to tonight's contact information.
Thank you.
Very good.
So, Justin, if you go start doing all this research and you start finding different things that you didn't know existed, that may have an impact on how all that property gets split up. Just because they've got ideas on how they think it should be because of how they've been operating within, as neighbors, it may come up completely different on what you find. So it may not come out the way they want it to.
Yeah, and the city attorney may be better to answer some of this, but my understanding on the survey side is how it works is it all goes back to how it was subdivided, what time frame that was done in. But the general principle is that it does get split, but if it borders to subdivisions, that can change.
Mr. Vaselli.
Councilmember Hills, that's an excellent point. And to get to that point, to find that knowledge is what really we're asking for here tonight.
Right.
So I think it's a great point that we are not vacating a piece of property. We are not getting quick claim deeds over to the piece of property. We are literally starting the process. I use the word due diligence way too much, but I'm gonna use it again. To do our due diligence to determine what's exactly right. So Councilmember Hills, I applaud that statement because it's exactly what we need to do to get the due diligence done, to find out what we need to do. We are lucky to have a really good engineer, and he'll dig down on this and make sure it's done the right way. And then we'll get resolution, not only for this council, but for the people who are here asking about it, the people who are still in the stands tonight, or I shouldn't say stands, but in the crowd tonight.
And what
Right,
is
but as it
your,
was brought up at the last meeting, even though it's being continually stated that we're not voting to vacate property, essentially we are, because we're not gonna vote to spend $12,500 to start the process and then turn around and not vacate the property. That defeats the whole purpose of.
But we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
That's the whole purpose of this. If you vote not to do it, then you have a problem that exists there. And there's a issue going on between the various property owners. The resolution that we're trying to bring forward, and Justin, if I'm stepping in it, please intervene. We're trying to present a resolution that could cost up to $12,500. We don't think it's going to exceed that. When it's all said and done and we provide you with all of that information, you may say, no, we're not going to vacate it as a council because we've uncovered some things that we don't know exist today. That's the whole purpose of this, is to clean that up, put the right information in their deeds on the property so that 20 years from now, somebody else isn't going through this same issue. Am I saying that correctly, Justin?
Yes, sir.
so basically what they're doing is you're going to do a survey. You're doing a land survey.
We're gonna search the property records, we're gonna do the land survey.
Searching back
Search
100
the
years.
railroad,
whatever.
search
Yep,
all
yep.
the utilities, all the things that we don't currently have at our disposal to help make a decision. We're going to get all that information to put it forth to you to make a decision down the road here.
I think part of it, I think the city years ago, 200 years ago, it was laid out by following the river. The other was laid out by straight, so
So
there lies the sections.
If we go through all this and even while we're doing the survey and after the survey's completed and we decide not to vacate any of that property, we've got an ordinance that still states everybody that borders all that property is responsible for cleaning all that mess up to the center of the city's right of way, correct?
But we've got to start somewhere. We have to give you
But I'm
guys
saying
guidance.
there was a complaint from one of the people under public input that he didn't want to be held financially responsible for cleaning up that mess if it got vacated, when technically he's responsible right now, even before it's vacated, according to one of the ordinances that we have. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I agree with that ordinance, but it's an ordinance. And there's been other people around town that have been dinged on that same ordinance and had to clean up property in an alleyway behind their house, which they didn't agree with either, but they had to do it.
I still think we need to give them some kind of guidance, so we need to take a vote on whether we let them follow through with their due diligence to get us to a point, or we vote no, that, it's just gonna be an argument from now and forever on who owns what and who keeps it cleaned up. We've gotta get an answer, and the answer starts with starting to give staff direction. Any other questions? Mr. Dossi, do you have something more?
Yeah, I think to answer Rick's question, the whole purpose of this is to give us the survey and the boundaries
Yeah.
so that there's clarification of who's responsible up to what point. And that's what's the dispute is who's responsible for the fence, who's responsible for the trees, who's responsible. That's what I think is gonna, this is all going to answer those questions.
Then I'll rebut that and ask you, why is the current maps that we have through the county assessor, why are we assuming that those are wrong? That we have to even do this survey? Why can't we just go by what's already on record, like we're doing for the rest of the community?
There are assessments when they do overlays. It could be 3 to 4 foot off in any direction. That part is true.
From my short experience is I know that over here, we found that I didn't know there was an old Pekin and things weren't done correctly and was it 3rd Street wasn't showing up with that and there was all kinds of issues with that. I think it's just a matter of record keeping at the county level, that you have to go back and verify that things are right. And I'm not blaming the county, it's just old back in the day and things got missed. It's different now, but that's part of the problem, and I think Mr. Vaselli said he might be able to answer.
And now that when they do aerial layover, or aerial pictures, they can be off.
They are, I mean,
Yes.
trustee, I keep on saying that, I say Councilmember Hills. I mean, in all counties and in all the plattings, there are mistakes in those plats, and really you need to dig deeper than, our county does a very nice job with regards to these records and everything, but as the manager said, I don't know when these streets were first platted, some time ago.
200 years old.
It's older than I am. In the records sometimes are inaccurate and you need to do some due diligence to do that. You'd be surprised about how often this comes up, to be honest with you, in my experience. And again, I never try to push a vote one way or the other. All we're asking here for tonight is to start the process of gathering the information at a not to exceed amount to be able to make a more informed decision than kind of linger in this morass or abyss where it's just like we don't know where
We've
everything
got to do something.
Yeah, we could either be proactive or allow the world to dictate our terms. And our position, again, at the people at the table, is to be proactive, get a not to exceed amount. Hopefully it comes in on shorter. And if there's some issues, we'll report back to council, correct?
Correct, and that can happen before the vacation plat is even prepared.
Okay, very good. All right, I think we're ready to take our vote. Council, take your vote, please. Did you guys notice you have to hit a little harder? Motion passes 7-0. We have now come down to item 9, which is new business. First on our list is 6.6 was pulled from consent agenda. I believe I'm going to pick on you, Mr. Hill, since you pulled that one.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I just wanted to vote on that separately.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna vote no on that, and I wanted to vote yes on everything else on that consent agenda, so.
Okay. Mr. Dossi, I don't know that you have a whole lot in front of you on this. Maybe you do, but can you give us any information on 6.6?
Yes, Mayor. This was an ordinance approving the variance for the property located at 1515 Chestnut Street that would reduce the rear building setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. I believe this was heard by the ZBA zoning board. And Nick, you write such long things here. Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval of the requested variance by a vote of 4-3. Detailed information regarding the board's findings and the basis for its recommendations is contained in the attached findings and facts that were in this packet. And Nick's available here for any further questions.
Nick, would you like to start out by telling us a little bit more about this? I think I remember you talking about this before.
Yes, so Mr. Botkin is seeking a reduction in the rear building setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. he is proposing to expand the rear of his garage and create an office. The garage itself is an attached structure, so this would be an extension of the primary structure into the rear building setback. If this was a detached structure, you would be allowed to go to 3 feet from the property line. But again, this is considered a primary structure because they do share a common wall. Zoning board again voted 4-3 in favor of recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
I agreed with pulling this off also. My only concern is in the ZBA, and unfortunately I didn't make that meeting, but were there other alternatives presented? Because that property is pretty good size to be able to do something other than what the proposal is. And I understand the grade and everything else, but that's, I don't know. I think there's other alternatives than making a variance for that piece of property.
Yes, so Mr. Bodkin did not express the desire to build a detached structure or build onto the side of the house. All of these things were brought up by zoning board members as options. But again, they ultimately took a vote and recommended it as presented.
As from what I understand, they have a handicapped daughter that's an adult that lives under that roof, and it would be my assumption that they want to keep the office under that roof so they can keep track of the home.
Correct. Yeah, one thing that was discussed, Mr. Bodkin can put an extension onto this garage and still be in compliance with code. He could go up to 11 feet off of the rear of it and still meet current code and not need a variance.
So he came to you. So basically, he came to you then for the variance, is what I'm saying. He just didn't do it on his own. Did you want to say something, Mr. Vasselli?
No, I was asking for some background. I apologize, Mayor,
No,
for being a
that's okay. I
disruption.
thought maybe you needed to tell us something else. All right.
I'd like to ask some background.
Sure.
So currently, as I understand what we're saying, is that the city code says that an attached portion of the building shall be no closer than 20 feet to a road. Is that what you're saying?
Property line. Property line.
Rear property line.
Okay. And that he'd like to get within 10 feet of that property line.
He's asking for a variance to get
Right.
10 feet.
To get to 10
Correct.
feet. Why do we care whether they're 10 feet or 20 feet?
It all comes down to the zoning and the ultimate plan and layout of the city. Each zoning district has different density requirements and different characters.
So again, I still don't know why I care. If I live in the neighborhood and I drive by and is it gonna hurt me that he's not 20 feet away from the property line?
It is not.
This is the kind of thing where we all get really frustrated when we're asked to do things or not do things with what we see as our property. And if there's not a good reason that we have a rule, I don't know why we don't give a variance.
Councilmember Phillips, if you mind if I interrupt, I apologize,
No,
Mayor
please,
Burris.
quite all right. Please do.
Ultimately, I would like Attorney Vasselli to opine on this. I just want to bring up the topic. Generally, in zoning, it works the other way on purpose, where you have a set code, and then if people want to vary from it, it's case by case. If the council's will is that the zoning code changes to accommodate this type of construction, you can change the code, but you shouldn't just change the code for one person just because they asked. You know, if you want to change the code, that's totally fine within your purview through the appropriate zoning board procedures. And I would recommend that you request that if that's what you'd like. But for a variance, you're supposed to have a hardship that makes the property different from regular code enforcement.
I feel he does. Okay. Okay. Did you get your questions answered, kind of, sort of? Yeah. Are we ready to vote? Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 5-2. We have now come down to item 9.1. Chair would entertain a motion, please.
Madam Mayor, I would move to pass an omnibus motion, including under new business 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, and 9.6. And I would be happy to read every single one of them if necessary.
Second?
I have said way too much tonight, Madam Mayor.
That's all right.
I apologize. So, Councilmember Holmeimer, would you mind if we made two motions? One is consolidating items 9.1 through 9.6 as a procedural matter, and then subsequently and substantively approving 9.1, 9.6 approved. So if the first one is, we put it all in one package, and then we approve the package, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And it was still second by Mr. Abel. All right. Motion made by Ms. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Abel. Are you going to read them, or you go? Or
Do you
good?
want me, do I need
No,
to read them?
if we're gonna read them, we read them the second time. The first time
Okay.
is a procedural matter, so.
First time's,
Essentially,
this
it's,
is just procedural.
yeah, 9.1 through 9.6, putting them all as one, and then we approve the combined.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so a motion was made to combine 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, and 9.6 by Ms. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Abel.
Question. But we can still talk about each one of them individually?
Yeah, it's not on a consent agenda, yeah.
Okay, so it's not a blanket vote to go
Right.
yay or nay?
Yeah.
No,
We're gonna
it's-
pull
we're-
separate,
we
okay.
could- We're putting them all in one package, and then we can
We
go.
can talk
from there.
individually.
We can peel them off like an onion.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it,
Count.
it's kind of. A lot of procedural talk back here, sorry
Okay,
about that.
council, take your vote, please. To combine them. Did everybody vote? Oh, motion passes 7-0. Okay, now do you want Ms. Hoheimer to read them?
I would prefer if Councilmember Hoheimer wouldn't mind reading them as she goes through for seeking the approval, but she'd read them rapidly if she wants to, yeah.
Okay, I'll read them all at once.
Okay.
9.1, resolution number 456-26/27, awarding a commercial building improvement grant to Peak and Alignment and Auto Body, Inc. for renovation of the property at 716 Court Street. 9.2, resolution number 457-26/27, awarding a commercial building improvement grant to Mary Teresa Lohman for renovation of the property at 343 Court Street. 9.3, resolution number 458-26/27, awarding a commercial building improvement grant to Gambetti Girls LLC for renovation of the property at 437 Court. 9.4, resolution number 459-26/27, awarding a commercial building improvement grant to Frank Hoffman for renovation of the property at 423 Court Street. 9.5, resolution number 460-26/27, awarding a commercial building improvement grant to Yesterday's Bar and Grill, Inc. for renovation of the property at 363 Court Street. And 9.6, resolution number 461-2627, awarding a commercial building improvement grant to Blitz Laundry, Inc. for renovation of the property at 312 Derby Street.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Abel. Mr. Dossi.
Good
Mayor, these are a variety of different TIF agreements that I think Mr. Ray is handing out some information, so I will let him answer any specific questions the council may have on those in the terms.
Okay. Do we want to start with just 9.1 and talk individually, or? Okay.
I'll start with 9.1. Just want to make a clarification, two things. There is no contract brought to us. If each one of these are approved or disapproved individually, the approvals will come back from Jacob and Klein with the actual contract language.
Yeah, that's been the practice the last couple of years. We ask council to kind of hash out
Okay.
who you want to award to, how much you want to award before we ask the attorneys to actually draft TIF redevelopment agreements.
Okay. Next thing is on 9.1, please clarify that the previous agreement that we had is going to be modified to this current agreement.
That's accurate. So the way that I added it in the resolution was basically that effectively the grants will replace the prior, what I would just call a tax rebate agreement. So previously they applied for incentives under an off-grant cycle. I told them they could wait, they could apply again in the future. They did apply again. There's additional improvements they're going to do to the property, but they can't get both types of incentives. So this would be a $50,000 grant to replace their long-term tax rebate agreement. And it's hard to know exactly over the course of years what an assessor is going to do to a property, but I would generally estimate that over the period of time, this developer or business would be rebated approximately $30,000 under their current agreement. So if you want to think about it this way, this would effectively add $20,000 to the project from the city.
That's all I had on that one.
Are we discussing each one and then voting as one?
As one.
Or are we are not voting individually? Perfect, perfect. Okay. So, 9.2. Does anyone have any questions on this one?
Oh, yes. I'm struggling with this one for the fact the way the application is applied for, saying there's going to be 12 full-time jobs, 6 part-time jobs. But we don't have a commitment, from what I understand, that we don't know what business or is a business going in there, number one. Number two, has that property been stabilized at all? Is there any TIF questions in there or requests in that? Because the way I read this, it's all about fire suppression for $110,000. So with that, does that $110,000 include the vault that Illinois American Water has to put in, all the other things that have to be done prior to the installation of fire suppression? And I'd like input from Josh. I know you've got some. Trent, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, because a lot of it, if it's upstairs living space, there's certain things that have to be done to renovate the upstairs. So,
yeah, I'll give a little background here. So the first thing that you all will notice is that based on the discussion at the last council meeting, I did recommend $100,000 for this project compared to the normal maximum of $50,000. We had discussed funding fire suppression systems at a higher level. I don't know that I got majority direction, but I felt like council was at least open to that discussion. So there's $100,000 recommended, and that would be for the whole project. So she would have to renovate the whole space, get occupancy for upstairs and downstairs based on her intended uses. And the $100,000 would go towards fire suppression or any other eligible expense towards the project. But in order to get the mixed occupancy, and Building or Fire could explain more, she's going to have the fire suppression. As far as the number of jobs that are projected, as far as I know, there is no tenant coming along with this building owner at this time. So as I've explained to her, If this agreement is approved and once it's executed, she'll have, the standard, usually in the agreements, we say that a property owner can have a combined 6 months over the life of the agreement, which is normally 5 years, combined 6 months of not having a tenant. So if they have one now and they lose it, they have, up to 6 months to get a new tenant. So if she doesn't have one right now, she'll have 6 months to find one, and then she has to keep one, or she'll owe some money back. So again, the reason for the higher grant is because she is doing a $110,000 fire suppression project, which came from 2 quotes. One was to bring the water service into the building to make that happen. The second quote was to install the actual fire suppression system. If there's additional requirements beyond that, that's not my department. That'd be a great question for Mr. McQuett. But that's, her application stands on her application, and if she needs to do other things, she'll have to do those things in order to get it installed. And if she doesn't complete the project, she won't get any grant funding.
Mr. Abel?
I guess I'm
Mr. Abel.
confused if she doesn't, or we don't know what she's going to put in there, where'd she pick figures of 12 full-time, 6 part-time?
I think that, just in conversation, I think that was her projection based on the size of the space and the type of business that she was going to try to get in there. I obviously cannot verify that one way or the other. I will say that, you'll see in the scoring, from the program, there were 3 different categories of scoring. One of them was economic impact. I did not necessarily assume any level of sales tax or any particular level of jobs. If we had an incoming business and we knew what they were going to be doing, perhaps she might have scored higher on that, but I did not necessarily assume anything other than that there would be some kind of commercial business in there in my scoring. So by all means, the 7 of you are more than welcome to disagree with my scoring and change it however you see fit. But I just want to make sure you're aware of that. The fact that she wrote down 12 jobs did not impact my
Or
scoring.
she picked those figures out of thin air just for any kind of.
Well,
business?
I remember the conversation. She was sitting down, she was thinking about how many square feet are in the building, what types of different, office-based businesses there could be, how many desks might fit. Like, she put a little bit of thought into it, but, she does not have a tenant to my knowledge.
Okay. Any other discussion on 9.2? Let's go on to 9.3. Mr. Vasselli. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Dossi. Did you want to discuss or tell us about 9.3?
Let me pull it up here.
Or are we picking on Josh?
Josh will be your answers for most
Perfect,
of these.
let's do Mr. Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I don't think there's any particular quirk with this project, other than perhaps to note that this property did receive, I want to say 2 years ago, a $55,000 grant for improvements. That building is in pretty good shape now, I think. They did a lot of improvements. They're basically seeking some additional funding for the roof. They did get a new tenant in there within the last 30 days, I want to say, 30 to 60 days. So that's positive activity. Again, you'll see based on the scoring, I decided or figured a recommendation on the amount of the grant based on their score compared to the maximum possible score. So, the $9,000 came from the scoring, not just an arbitrary number. And again, you're welcome to disagree with that and change it to whatever number you like, or pull it out altogether.
Any discussion? Okay. 9.4. Mr. Ray.
Very similar project. It's simply a new roof project, and you can refer to the scoring to understand the difference in the amounts, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Any discussion? 9.5.
I do want to make one note about this that Councilmember Nutter noted to me earlier today. I was copy and pasting a lot of this stuff because it's very repetitive. This is also a project that is going to replace the roof and the AC units. I had copied and pasted their project information from the Pekin alignment item. So they're not doing new windows, garage doors, and blacktop. They're doing a roof and AC units, which the quotes are provided for that work in the packet, but I just want to clarify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
I
thanks
do
for
have a
finding that.
question on this one.
On
So-
the 9.5
On
excuse me.
9.5,
Okay.
yes. The rooftop unit, do you know, is it for the residential, for the business, for both?
I would think all of the above. I don't have any reason to believe that there's split. I mean, they're doing wholesale replacement of AC units, so.
Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. 9.6, please.
Again, it's just a pretty standard ask for some assistance with the project. There's 2 businesses located on this property, and the water service line was having some significant issues. I do believe this work has been complete. It was, more of an emergency situation where the water was leaking into the ground. So if you want to take that under advisement, they did get the application in before they completed any improvements per the city council's policy,
Oh, that's
but I just want to note that. And I don't know which contractor they used off the top of my head, but I based the grant amount on the Lowe's quote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other,
I have a clarification, just so I understand this. So we're going to vote on this as a group, is that correct?
that was,
That's the motion.
I was
So
going to get that clarified too.
when the things come back, these agreements come back from Jacob and Klein, we could vote on them individually to be yes or no?
You can, yeah, I'll put them on the agenda all separately because Jacob and Klein will draft separate ordinances for each one.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted clarified. Okay, we're gonna vote yes or no for this, but individually then, when it comes back, whenever
Yeah, I
it
mean,
comes
I
back.
would really appreciate the council discussion now to determine what those ordinances should look like. But, I mean, it's obviously your prerogative to discuss or not.
Sure.
Yeah, so if you have heartburn over a certain dollar amount on any individual one, let him know now so that he can make those adjustments when he gives it to Jacob and Klein.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're determining how much you want to give to each of these. He's giving you what the scoring
ask,
sheet
yes.
gave, what their asks are, and if you want to make those adjustments, now would be that time. So then when it
I
comes,
will go on record saying I'm struggling with 9.2. And that's the upgrade or whatever, stabilization, everything that goes with it. I just don't think there's adequate enough information in there. So,
Is that the property next door to Ham's Furniture?
yeah, that's,
That nasty building?
Yep, the one that was an antique place for.
yeah, you're thinking of the.
They had the dogs in the basement?
It's next to Olivia's
It's
Playhouse's
to the left of
location
that. It was
downtown.
was that the old attorney's office, or, I don't know, it was something.
She's done other work on Court Street. She's rehabbed other buildings I know of, and she does extremely good work.
Is it the building that has a beautiful staircase in it? Yeah.
Mr.
It
McQuest said
could
yes.
be- It could be gorgeous. Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to take our vote, or is there any other question?
Do you want to,
I'm
does
good
council
with
have
that.
an
just
appetite?
leave
You
it,
wanna
leave
give
it,
us
the
what-
leave it the way it is. I'm just going on record, say probably when it comes,
Okay, then you'll change it at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 6-1. Chair would now entertain a motion for 9.7, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 462-26/27, approving purchase of a plow truck for the street department be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Abel and second by Ms. Phillips. Mr. Dossi.
Thank you, Mayor. This is replacing a, I believe, 23-year-old plow truck, wing plow truck. Total cost with the upfitting is $288,834. This is a Sourcewell quote, and Simon can answer any questions council might have on this.
Council? Cut and dry. Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 5-1 with 1 abstain. Chair would now entertain a motion for 9.8, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 463-26/27, approving purchase of utility compactor for street department be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Phillips, or Mr. Fletcher. I always get somebody's name wrong. Mr. Fletcher, and second by Ms. Phillips. Mr. Dossi.
Thank you, Mayor. This is another piece of street department equipment that's being requested. This is for a utility compactor. Total is $22,300. It was allocated or budgeted for in this budget, and Simon's available to answer any questions. He did get competitive bids on this.
Okay. Questions from council? Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 5-1 with 1 abstain. Chair would now entertain a motion for 9.9, please.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution number 464-26/27, approving engineering task order for traffic signal assessment and inventory be approved.
Second.
Oh, I did hear Peg first, Mr. Abel, so motion made by Mr. Fletcher and second by Ms. Phillips. Mr. Dossi, once again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is authorizing the task order with Griffin Reese Engineering. It's in accordance with the master service agreement that was previously approved by resolution. In essence, Hanson Engineering will address several of the ongoing needs, evaluating the city's traffic signals, which we've heard a lot about recently, collecting the data to support a future signal timing project, also developing the asset management plan, preparing accurate inventories and replacement cost estimates for insurance purposes. Simon and Justin are available to answer any other questions council may have.
Okay. Any questions from council?
Just a comment. It's about time we did this. It's been a long time coming, and thank you for taking the lead between Simon and Justin both, because as we've heard over the past couple weeks, there's issues with traffic signals all over town. So thank you for that.
Any other question or comments? Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 9.10, please.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution number 465-26/27, awarding 2026 motor fuel or MFT chip seal contract to UCM be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Fletcher and second by Mr. Abel. Mr. Dossi.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to start out, this is part of our strategic plan. I am working with staff and as well as myself to start putting the indicator in here that the strategic plan, that this applies to it as far as the roads go. But this is awarding the street maintenance chip seal to R.A. Cullinan and Son for chip seal of the roads in accordance with the street maintenance plan that was out there. The bid total was $1,354,685. which is about 1% difference from what the engineer's estimate was. So Justin had a pretty good estimate in there. Simon and Justin are available for any questions on this, should council have any.
Okay. Council? Mr.
Any
Abel?
idea when it'll start? Or I've had some people ask, they don't know when they're gonna come to their neighborhood, but an idea when it's gonna start for the city.
So this, if approved by council here, it will go to IDOT for approval on the backside, but that's largely a kind of administrative point at this one. So the funds should be available within about a month or so.
Late summer, early fall.
Right. It'll be kind of what we were saying to begin with, late summer, late August, early September timeframe. And then our road crews are currently doing work to prep for all of this to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Two different things. Notification to the citizens that they're gonna do it. No parking type thing, coordinating with the police department, street department, et cetera, I'm hoping. Okay. Second thing is, what about the two streets that were on there that were gonna be milled and overlaid? I know there's a little money left, but I don't think there's enough to cover them all. Is there a plan for those two mill and overlays?
So we're still working with IDOT for the mill and overlay portion of this. There's some technical stuff that we're working with them on and to get into agreements to go forward on that piece. And the budget as it's listed here has the $1.4 million as budgeted. There is additional funds within our MFT account. So we will need to do a budget amendment for that section of MFT to reflect what's actually in there, and then that'll close that gap. There will be no gap for the cost for the mill and overlay section.
Thank you very much.
No other questions, council? Take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. Bless you. Chair would now entertain a motion for 911, please.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution number 466-26/27, approving purchase of solid waste route management software be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Fletcher and second by Ms. Hoheimer. Mr. Dasse, once again.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution is regarding the purchase of the solid waste route management software. In essence, this is software that collects the usable data to help us determine efficiencies. Can we run the routes better on the solid waste? I will let Simon talk a little bit more in depth on this because he's talked to the vendors and he can explain this a little bit more in depth. But this is something that we've had many discussions about since I have become city manager, is how can we be more efficient? And I think this software will help provide that data and give us an idea of how we can be more efficient and are we utilizing our resources to the best of our ability. And Simon is available if there's any further questions.
I would say this is about 20 years overdue. When my husband worked in that department, 6 subdivisions were built and no new routes, new mapping, no new nothing was done. Some men on their routes, they were just smashed, and others had normal routes. And it should have been redone many, many years ago, so I'm extremely happy to see that it's being done.
Very good.
Hopefully.
Any other comments, questions from council?
Simon is integrated in this software. Is there going to be clock in, clock out, time card issues that I've asked about for a while?
This it does not have a specific clock in, clock out for beginning or end of day. but it will record, once driver's on the vehicle, they've got their safety checklist they have to go through to begin to prep that. It'll do a timestamp on that piece. So essentially, when they're starting their day at the vehicle, and then their last, once they pull back into the shop.
Well, that'll help. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 912, please.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that ordinance number 4419-26/27, approving a Fourth Amendment to the fiscal year 2027 annual budget be adopted.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hilst, second by Ms. Phillips. Mr. Dossi.
Thank you, Mayor. In essence, this is the budget amendment. The previous item that was just voted on for the software was not a budgeted item, so this is correcting that and moving money from one account to the others to cover that expense.
All right. Any questions from council? Seeing none, council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 913, please.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that ordinance number 4420-26/27, authorizing the acquisition of various residential lots in the city of Pekin from the Tazewell County sealed bid auction be adopted.
Motion made by Mr. Hilson, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Once again, Mr. Dossi.
Thank you, Mayor. Council's going to have questions on this, obviously, so we're going to try to answer them the best possible here, but the city from time to time will have work in on properties, whether it's mowing the lawns or property maintenance violations, that the city has foreclosed on those properties in efforts to recover our costs, but it's placing the liens on the homes and everything else. There's been some changes in laws regarding how the liens and the lien process works overall. And it requires, and Josh will be able to speak a little bit more in detail on the attorney, I'm hoping here, that we risk when those properties go to property tax sale, we lose the liens and we lose any opportunity to recover our costs. With that, over the past week, several of the properties that we had significant or had liens on, or we had work into those properties, went out to tax sale, and it's through a bidding process, at which time we bid on this. The good side of this is that we don't incur legal expenses going through foreclosure and trying to recover that. We actually purchase those properties significantly cheaper than if we went into litigation for those. So it's kind of a new thing that we went through on that, and we're trying to work through that. But Josh can clean up where I left off, because I just learned about this over the past week, how that process works, and the attorney can answer some of the questions as well.
Before we get started, I do want to say I handled this. It's a sealed bid. It does start very, very low. And the reason why is because we are trying to do, as the treasurer, and the company that she worked with, I say she because it's me and now it's another female, all we're trying to do is get it back on the tax roll. So anything that we can help to get it back on the tax roll so the city can have it back and get it improved, maybe, hopefully that's what will happen to it. That's the intent of these sealed bids, not to make a ton of money, but to get them back on the tax roll. Any other questions from council?
I do. So, bear with me if,
I can,
These
while you're
questions
looking at
appear
that,
to be a little ignorant, but
well, while you're looking at that,
me too, so.
I want to add a little bit more, so maybe this will, I'm not sure where you're going with your question, but the county even gets it because taxes were not paid 3 years in a row. So then they have the right to go in and try to put it back on the tax roll by a sealed bid. So taxes were not picked up at the regular tax sale at the end of the year in October. This is their second alternative, something that they can do other than, since nobody picked it up, it goes to a trustee program. That trustee program is handled by Joseph Meyer Company, and then they have a sealed bid, starting at usually around $750. I'm not quite sure what the bids were, but very low. So I don't know if that helped you any more with your question, Rick.
No, because I'm specifically asking about the properties we have on here. And I'm trying to understand, going by what Mr. Dawsey just said. So I'm just going to use a scenario here. If we've got one of these properties on here, these are properties that we're wanting to bid on, is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. House, perhaps, Mr. Dawsey was out on vacation when we ended up actually bidding on these, so it was frankly a conversation between Mr. McQuett and myself. Basically, full transparency, this whole kind of process related to property liens and foreclosures and demolitions. We do parts of it very well. Some of the things slip through the cracks, and we're taking steps to try to improve that. But these are properties that, for whatever reason, we had an amount of lien on it, whether it was a property demolition, mowing over a period of time, whatever it might be. So we had a vested interest in trying to recoup costs from these properties. Staff became aware that there was going to be a deadline to bid on these properties, and if we did not bid, or if we were not the winning bid, our liens get washed away entirely, and we have no opportunity to try to sell these properties ourselves to recoup costs or to control their destiny. You know, if the neighbor gets it and just leaves it as a lawn, maybe that's not what the city wants to see. We'd rather see a new house built back on it. So staff, you know, being on the day of the deadline, decided to go ahead and bid on these, knowing, and I checked first, that payment was not due until actually 11:59 p.m. tonight. So that worked out okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't have bid on them. We wouldn't have had the authority to acquire property without council's approval. But essentially, we've made the bids. As of this morning, I was notified we have won all 5 of the bids. So should council approve this, we will make payment before 11:59 tonight, and we'll get deed to these without having to incur any additional legal costs to foreclose on them, take them through any kind of litigation. So frankly, staff thought it was a really smart move because, you know, for example, if we did a demolition on Matilda, you know, it could take several more months, and it could cost $5,000-$10,000 to get the deed for it before we could do anything. So really, it was kind of an emergency move, but it was made to be more efficient, to save costs, and we're going to try to avoid the situation in the future by being a little more careful about which properties we incur costs on and at what stage in the tax sale process they are. You know, maybe we don't do a huge demo when it's in its 3rd year of not having taxes paid. So we got to get better about doing that, and there's many departments involved in that. There's no particular person that did anything wrong. So that's how this all came about. So your choice tonight is if you want to go ahead and move forward with these. It's going to be just under $10,000 to acquire all 5 properties. If you don't, that's fine. It'll go to the next highest bidder, and unfortunately, the city won't be able to bid again. But I think if you don't approve it tonight, you probably aren't interested in that at all. So.
Well, and that's one other thing I forgot to say is, Mr. Hills, let's say you went in and did the bidding, all liens would be washed away. The only thing that, like I said, the collector is just trying to get it back on the tax roll, and all those liens would be washed away. So the city would be missing out on money.
So that's where I'm getting confused. If the city's buying all these properties, how's that putting it back on the tax roll?
Yeah, so our goal is that we control what happens to these properties rather than them just perhaps going to, you know, the neighboring property owner who doesn't do anything with it but have a side yard. We're trying to, number one, sell it for a higher amount than we bid for it, which we were selective in bidding. We didn't just blanket bid on everything. There was maybe 4 or 5 other properties that when we looked at them, we go, yeah, there's no way we're gonna be able to sell this to anybody that wants to build a house. So we let those go. But these ones in particular, you know, the lot's wide enough, it's clean, it's in, you know, whatever kind of condition that we thought that, yeah, if we spend 2,000, we might be able to sell it for 5 to 10 and get a house on it that has a higher property value and therefore higher taxes, coming to the city and the other taxing bodies. So that was the decision scenario, and
So
again.
all these properties are empty lots?
Yes. And in particular, there's 2 of them that are small enough that I wouldn't have bid on them, but the city controls or is in the process of foreclosing on the property right next door. So then they will be nice, large lots that a good-sized house could be built on. And of course, there's no guarantees, you know, we've sold a couple of these to a developer who still hasn't built houses on them yet. And we've got, you know, we can deal with that separately, but, that's the goal, is that we get new houses back on these lots and try not to spend any more dollars than we need to make that happen.
So once these go to sealed bids through the county, correct?
Yep.
Even though the city of Pekin may have liens on these properties, if somebody else purchases those properties, they don't have to pay the lien on that?
That's accurate.
Correct.
They don't have to pay the lien to anyone, or just the city of Pekin?
Anybody.
So they don't even pay the lien to the county?
Nope.
All liens are washed.
And I believe
And that's just
the,
specifically through this special closed seal bid?
There's a change in the law.
yeah, I don't know
I mean,
that.
if you had like a
It's through
regular
Joseph.
auction on a house and there were liens on it,
They get picked up. This is
you have to
different.
pay
This
those
is-
liens, so it's
This
just
is through
this
Joseph Meyer
specific-
Company.
Yeah, and it goes through, there has been a change in the law with regards to this, Stephen, enforce that more. We have had conversations with the treasurer about this. There is nothing that they can do. And it's a wash. It's just gone. I will tell you this, can I tail off what you said just a little bit?
Sure.
If we were to go after one of these cases in foreclosure and a judge decided they didn't want to issue the deed to a vacant owner, it could easily, one of these properties could cost $7,500 to $10,000 just to foreclose. I always say this, that litigation is always a business expense. The efficiency of doing this, when Josh called me with Nick in the office, and I said, yeah, that's great, the only person that gets hurt in this is me, which is fine, I'm 100% fine with that. Like, let's efficiently protect our interests, lower our legal fees, and have the outcome for 1/10 of what it may cost to do this the whole way through. Trustee Hills, it is an atypical manner of doing this, and I applaud, a very novel approach to solve a problem that would take 3 to 4 months of litigation and possibly tens of thousands of dollars to just knock this out all at once and get to the same resolution that we would have otherwise.
Oh, and I completely agree with that. I'm not trying to argue that fact. I completely understand that this would be cheaper doing it this way than trying to go through all the other process. I'm just trying to understand what that law is and why we're losing the lien on everything. Because I wasn't aware of that.
No, it's a great question, because it doesn't make sense, right? You'd think that a governmental agency does this thing, they should have their interests protected. But that's not the way, call our friends in Springfield.
Yeah.
That's not the way the law is written. The law is written is clear the deck so they can get this back on the tax rolls.
Right.
Springfield doesn't really care about local governments in a lot of instances, and this is one of those evidences that they don't. Because what they're doing is, they're saying, yeah, that's great that you spent your time and money, bless you, demolitioning this and doing these other third-party costs on that, but we don't really care about this. We want this on the tax rolls as soon as possible. So what did Josh do? He thought around the problem. He put down these bids knowing that we would have to come back to you, and we'd have this time frame, and efficiently do it. And the only thing that we lose is expending legal fees, which, on the record, put this in the minutes, I'm fine with. Let's get this done and do it the right way.
And this is different than a sheriff's sale. A sheriff's sale, you pay all liens. This is not. Yep, this is a sealed bid, and they're all washed away.
So this process, this sealed bid process, is a secondary sale after nothing got sold at the sheriff's auction.
The first
Yep.
way didn't work, so they go to the second one.
Okay.
We have our tax sale. We have our tax sale at the end of the year. It's usually the last of October. If nothing is picked up, the bids are coming in like crazy, one doesn't get picked up. It goes to the county. The county has this trustee that goes to a sealed bid. 3 years that it's not picked up, it goes into the booklet. People bid on it, just like Josh did.
And I just want to add in there for content. Now, with development, there's no guarantee, 1600 Matilda, we started foreclosure on that because a developer wanted to purchase the property to build a home, put it back on the tax roll. So that's why that's on this list. Now, whether or not that comes to fruition is to be seen, but there's interest in that property. 1600 Matilda, if everybody remembers, that was the one we got blown up every day from an individual that it was in that bad a shape. But it's a corner lot, and there's interest in developing it.
Okay, to that point that you just made there, what's stopping that developer from going out and putting in a bid on that property rather than going through the city of Pekin to get it?
Because it's gonna be deeded over to us through this process now.
If we're the bid, if we're the
We own
highest
it.
bid.
We own the property now.
be, right? I mean, it's one.
But he's saying if the contractor put a sealed bid in, he could have put a sealed bid in.
Sure, yeah,
So,
sure, yeah, they could have.
I mean, you're
anybody
saying
could
that
have
there was
outbid.
interest in that property. How do you know whoever was interested in it didn't put their own bid in?
I don't think they
I don't-
purchased property that way.
We won, so I don't know who all bid, but we won the bid, and I guess to your point, Mr. Hilst, we would want to try to sell the lot for maybe, $10,000 and recoup some of our lien fees rather than just letting them get it at a lower bid and we lose our liens.
And another thing too, like Mr. Hill said, who says that the person that was interested didn't bid too? The treasurer doesn't know that either. The Joseph Meyer Company takes care of the sealed bid, opens them up, tells her who's the highest bidder.
And again, this was selective, we don't want every property necessarily. That we might want to demo a structure or take code enforcement action on a property, and at the end of the day, the city might not want that property. So we were selective in deciding which ones we should bid on. We don't necessarily take code enforcement action just because we think that somebody else wants to build a house on it, right? I mean, this is just a way that maybe we can recoup some of our expenses.
Yeah. I think it was a smart move by staff, so, thank you. And I know it's difficult to keep track of all the land, the properties that the city does have, but, when you're trying your best to make an improvement, then you're doing your job, so I appreciate it. Any other questions from council?
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So this is for Mr. Dabrowski. So I added that up. There's $93,144 worth of liens that we are not going to collect. Is that a bad debt? How do you write it off? What do you do with that?
It's funny that you mentioned that. One thing that we are going through in our process is we're going to take a look at our accounts receivable. And I'm going to be coming to the city council in the coming months with a whole new process related to write-offs, bad debt, allowance for doubtful accounts, whatnot, so we can get up to speed. But that would be a bad debt.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, this is, I look at the efficiency side and everything. 6 years of sitting up here, this is the first time this has ever been brought up here that I'm aware of. And John, I don't know if it's ever been brought forward. So there's opportunity out there to improve that process, to make sure we're in the loop somewhere along the line. And I commend you for sorting through the bad ones.
Okay, Dave,
Well,
Dave, just as an aside, one of the properties, there was a $1,600 lien on it.
Right.
If we get it, we purchase it for $2,000, that's $2,600. We could sell the lot for $10,000.
That's one of many, but the one that's 53,000 and 10,000
Yeah.
and 21. Yeah,
Kiss
I
that goodbye.
understand it, but my concern, can we get it off the book somehow?
But
And
we'll get some money, I would think, in selling it.
so
Well,
there's
here's-
gonna be a process that, once this is approved, if it's approved, now we're gonna go out to the sale of property?
Yeah, we have an available properties page that lists various properties that we have for sale, and I'll also make sure that all the, particularly the residential real estate agents are aware of it. I've even contemplated, I haven't talked with anybody about this yet, but perhaps we should start listing it with an official listing service, particularly for the residential properties, because we've got many of those that I don't work on a daily basis, just don't have the time, so. Yeah, that's the next step, is that we'll start trying to offload them and, make them ready for somebody to build on.
There used to be a policy for real estate sales. So maybe we need to reenact it.
And another thing I do want to say, I know that there was property that the city had that did go to someone else in a sealed bid. years back. So it wasn't caught, it wasn't, you know, you lost the fines and fees on it. Because someone was lucky enough to come in and buy it for a couple $1,000. Okay, hats off to you, great job.
Yeah.
Should we vote?
Yes, are we ready to take a vote? Council, take your vote, please. Motion passes 7-0. We have now come down to any other business to come before the council. Mr. Dossi, how's you and your staff doing? You're probably doing great. You came back from vacation, as I did.
I just have a couple things, Mayor. August 3rd, just a reminder to council, there's a ribbon cutting at the Carl Health for the North Star Cafe.
Okay.
I don't know if council's aware, but you approved the purchase or acquisition of what's called Dock Access, which is, in essence, making all the items that are on our website. If you click on the PDF, it gives you options, so you can have it read. It's more of an ADA compatibility thing that we were having the struggles with posting the quarterly and annual reports because it wasn't compatible. So it fixes those issues. It does that, so that's out there. And I know there's been discussions. I know it was one of the meetings about the Kroger plantings. Nick can speak a little bit on that if council wants a little more input, but they are almost done replacing the items that were out. They've worked with us. I believe they're working on the dumpster enclosure as well. But they have been addressing the issues that were brought up by some of the residents there that we had at the One Coffee.
Yeah.
And they are addressing that.
The one lady that had mentioned something about by Kroger, we got a very nice thank you from her, that thanking the city and Kroger both for taking care of all of her issues.
It's going to be a little time before they grow, but
Yeah.
a lot of the plants are in place and they should be
And-
wrapping that up soon.
And the music. What else did you do, Nick? There was like 3 of.
Yep, so we had the music issue, the landscaping all the way on 17th Street, Broadway, and the dumpster enclosures in the back.
Yeah,
Yep.
all right. Thank you very much. Well, we got a very nice thank you from her as well. Okay. Any other staff, Mr. Dossi? Okay. Mr. Hilst?
Nothing right now, thank you.
Mr. Nutter?
One major thing. This Saturday is the St. Jude Pekin to Peoria Run. For those that you don't know, it's a 33-mile trek through the city streets. Thank you to police, thank you to fire for the assistance to get all these people through town safely. It kicks off at the Ivani's Event Center out there at 7:30 in the morning. It's a big event. Always look forward to it, but watch out for people running up and down the streets, and they aren't trying to avoid people there. And they've modified the run this year because of Court Street and all the construction. So it's a big event for the city. Thank you.
I think Chief and I made our donation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dossi and Mr. Ranny, for a donation to the St. Jude, I'll be nice about it, the St. Jude Traveling Trophy that showed up in certain properties, and we'll leave it at that.
Ms. Phillips?
Not much tonight. I just want to thank everybody who's here for spending your evening with us. I know this is the most fun place you could be in town, and I'm glad you keep spreading the word. Thank
There
you.
go. Thank you. Mr. Fletcher?
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
Mr. Abel?
First off, for those that have contacted me and probably the other council members with the traffic signal at Allentown Road and Court, the part is being awaited. It's on its way. That's all I can tell you. And this past Saturday was the 21st annual Super Cruise in downtown Pekin, and it was super. Promoter Steve Bresnan estimated 600 to 700 cars, and a lot of them come in haulers. and I saw they were parked, and I saw Wisconsin, Indiana, and Iowa trailer plates on them. But I mean, the side streets, county parking lots, I hadn't seen cars in several years. I haven't missed too many of these. Lots of food trucks, and it was curb-to-curb people from about Second Street up to Sixth, so very successful, a lot of people downtown. And one last thing, it doesn't affect us in a way, but I'll explain it anyway. On Lakeside, out here off of Eighth, the right side toward the river is all apartments. The left side is private homes. GFL has the contract for all those apartments. As of 2 days ago, they have not had garbage pickup in 3 weeks. The people are calling GFL, they're getting told every excuse under the sun. We've picked it up, you don't know what you're talking about. They were had some very rude comments from GFL. They just have contacted me saying, we're not taxpayers, but we're citizens of Pekin. Across the street, city picks it up like clockwork. 3 weeks now, the other side is nothing. And I don't know what we can do to help them. I mean, they live in Pekin, they're citizens here, they shop here, and we're kind of frustrated.
Where was it at again? I'm sorry.
Be from 8th Street toward the river on Lakeside, right alongside Lakeside Cemetery. And as you're driving left off 8th, the right side is all apartments. I believe most of them are Lehman properties. The left side is all private homes. The apartment dwellers are having a problem getting their garbage picked up. It's been 3 weeks. I don't know if a legal call to GFL or something, but they don't get much response from it when they call, and Lehman says, that's between GFL, you call them. Well, they call GFL and get no help.
Yeah,
Just pass
I'll
it
work with,
along.
I'll work with Simon and see if there's anything we can do without violating any contracts or anything we have out there.
I just want to pass it on, so.
Okay.
We do have some contacts with GFL too, so, okay.
That's all.
Ms.
Thank you.
Hoheimer?
I just have a shout out to Ashley and Gary and Krista Flynn at Take Two Resale Boutique. I went down there this past week, and I have 4 grandchildren. And boy, have they got some really nice clothes down there, and I would strongly urge you to go down there and check that out. It's very neat, well-organized, lovely, lovely little shop. Definitely go visit it. So that's
Very
what I
nice.
have.
Well, I am going to take my Mayor Mary's moment and talk about the bus department and the employees there. So, tonight, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Pekin, I would like to recognize and thank the employees at the City Bus Department for their many, many years of service that they had. For decades, our bus drivers, our monitors, our mechanics, dispatchers, the support of the staff safely transported our students, not only to school, but on field trips and to events and countless other activities. So for more than 300 or 400 employees that came and went for the city of Pekin, we want to thank you for your years of service. This is now taken over by the high school 303 and All-Town Bus Service, and many of the employees from the city of Pekin are going to work for them as well, along with 108. They are taking over their district as well. So we just want to say thank you. The city is closing this chapter, but we wish you all well. We thank you very, very much for every moment that you gave a student and the city. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for everything that you did do for the city and the students. Other than that, Chair would entertain a motion to go in executive session, and we will not be coming out and taking a vote.
Madam Mayor, I move that we move into executive session, 5 ILCS 120/2C, 11.1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, and 11.2, litigation, when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hilst and second by Mr. Abel. We will, do we need a break? I believe so. Yeah. Council, take your vote, and we will take a 10-minute break. Hey, yeah. Oh, my sister, she went to. Motion passes 7-0.